T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Movies and Beyond. Once again, I am Michael, and today we are ranking the big three. Matt, how do you feel about ranking the big three today?
I feel excited, a little bit nervous. I told you I kind of put my list together last minute. I think it's about where I want it to be. Like we've talked about before, you get into some of them later films, they can bounce around from day to day, man. But super excited. Everybody that's joined in, thank you so much. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited.
You know, when I was going through this list, I made my list yesterday, and
Okay.
I looked it over today, and I, made some adjustments today. Went through it, moved some stuff around. And I brought out my old list from the rankings we did from all three of them.
Okay.
And I compared this list to that, and I was just like, man, some of these have moved around quite a bit for me. And it's kind of funny how things like that happen. Were you able to look back at that at all when you were coming up with yours?
No. I do not have a clue where my old lists are, but that would have been a major help.
Yeah.
So no, I put it together from scratch. But I've been waiting to do this for a long time, man.
It was just funny for me looking at it, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, this isn't even close to where it was before. And
Right.
I'll tell you the truth, before we get started on this stuff, I'm really surprised with my top 5. Like, I just did it, through my head. I laid it out. And then when it was done, I looked at it and I was just like, wow, really? And, I went back through it and I'm like, yeah, really? Like, okay, that's surprising for me. Like, I surprised myself with this list. Not to say it wouldn't change tomorrow. Not to say, it wouldn't be the same. I don't know. But with these movies, for me, I'm so back and forth on so many of these movies. And then you throw them all together and it just creates a whole nother problem, for your list. Like, for me, it was definitely just a very hard thing to do. And I think when we came up with this idea, I didn't realize how much was going to have to go into doing this show. I was just like, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do the big three.
What I'm excited about is that there's going to be some wow moments where we're both like, really, dude, really, because let's face it, when we just do a single franchise, Halloween or Nightmare, you and I, we're pretty much way off most of the time. Now we're putting all 3 of them together, dude. It's gonna be wild.
If we have any of them that are the same, like you and I, our opinions differ, so much. If any of them are the same, I will be very surprised if we hit the same ones on the same numbers.
I believe we will. 1 or 2 out of 33 movies. Yeah.
It's out of 33. You got. I don't know what the odds are on that.
Yeah, we had 34, but remember we put Freddy vs. Jason in the list twice. So that was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the first we had 36. If you remember correctly, it was 36. And then we double checked our math and it came down to 34. And then we realized Freddy vs. Jason was in there twice because we had them from the Nightmare series and for Friday the 13th. So we have settled on the correct number, ladies and gentlemen. we are pretty and 85% sure there's only 33 movies. I'd never throw 100% in there, but I'm pretty sure there's 33 movies. So we will do our best for that. Let me go ahead and say hi to some people that are in the chat for us today. Val is here. Val is here to be our mod. Thank you again so much, Val, for being here. We greatly appreciate you doing this for us so that we can focus on what each other are saying and not have to worry so much about the animals that are in our chat, you know, talking about what they do, and what they think. And
Thank you, Val.
I love every one of them too. Justin and Kelsey are here, and they're saying this is going to be one of the hardest ranking ever with all three OG.
You're absolutely right. Justin, Kelsey, thanks for joining us, guys. It's going to be fun.
It's definitely going to be a good time. I think so. But yeah, definitely 100% on that one. Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy. At least on my end, it wasn't. Teresa's here saying, hello, guys. I've been looking forward to this one. Hello, Teresa.
Hello, mother.
Bye-bye, Polar's here. Hey, everyone. Excited for these rankings. We are very excited to do these rankings as well. Polar's a good friend. She's here. Want to say thanks for coming by. James is in the chat. Hi there, Mike.
I don't know who that is.
This piece of junk working. Well, James, we were a little late tonight, so you didn't miss too much, buddy.
Got this piece of junk working. James, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, man.
The movie Massacre's here. Nothing of your backdrops are awesome. I think that he meant both of them are
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you very much.
And Penroll from Penroll TV just says, I'm here so I don't get fined. The Marshawn Lynch of our chat here. Well done, sir. Well done. So that's who we have in the chat for right now. With this long list, I don't want us to sit here and talk forever before we get this started, because I am sure that this is going to take a little longer than our normal lists do, and I'm really eager to get started with this. So why don't I drop us out? We'll go ahead and run the intro so we can come back and get started on this 33 movie list.
Let's do it, buddy.
All right, we will be right back. Here we go.
I prayed that he would burn in hell, but in my heart, I knew that hell would have him.
His death.
Hello, Sydney. Are you a god?
Don't you
The Force will be with you, always.
Wish I had you all alone, just the two of us.
And we are back. We had a few new people jump in the chat while we were away for the intro. K-pop, Katie is here from Popping the Popcorn saying, hi, friends. Katie, another one of our mods. So grateful that you're coming, Katie. Thank you very much for being here for us.
Thank you, Katie.
Jeff D'Angelo. Hey, guys, I got it figured out. We're happy to have you here, Jeff.
Jeff, good to see you on here, my friend. Very good to see you on here. Glad you figured it out so you can comment, buddy.
All right, buddy. Well, it's your turn, sir. You are going to lead us off today.
Okay.
We'll switch it back and forth. I have a list here too, that I'll keep track of what number we're on and things like that too.
Okay.
All right, man.
Okay.
Number 33. Number 33.
Number 33 for me, ladies and gentlemen. Halloween ends.
I knew it was coming.
Ends.
I knew it.
And yeah. Now, here's the thing. It's, if you want to look at it for whatever some people try to say, whatever they think they were trying to do with that film, whatever. The reason it is 33 for me is that it pisses me off, man. The movie just pisses me off in so many ways, and I'm not going to sit here and rant. Nobody wants to hear that. But I'm going to simply say my reasons why. In a nutshell, I love Michael Myers, man. We all know that. Michael's my boy, just like Jason is yours. So, and this started when, as young as I can remember, I was, just all about Michael. So when you're talking about the film that's going to end it all, Michael's going to be going down, and Michael or Laurie Strode or both, you don't know, but they're setting it up that this is the final finale, right? And for that to be what we got to send off my freaking hero, man, it just pisses me off. So yeah, I'd rather watch Freddy's Dead. I'd rather watch Resurrection. I'd rather watch Halloween 3. And those movies suck. But they don't piss me off at the level of Halloween, the level that Halloween Ends does. So it's number 33.
And we didn't talk about our lists at all, when we made them. We didn't have
like
any
that.
conversations, just for the simple fact that I wanted your stuff to be as much as a surprise as my stuff was to yours, for the same for the people in the chat.
Right.
But I knew it, man. Deep down, I was like, he's gonna throw Halloween Ends at number 33. I saw that coming. I took a quick moment and I was like, I bet you Matt's number 33 is going to be Ends. Well, on the other side of things, when we get to my number 33, I had a tough time with this one. This is also like my number one because I'm saying which one is the worst to me. And for some of the same reasons that Halloween Ends,
I have no idea what's going to come out of your mouth
right
now.
I'm going Halloween Resurrection. Halloween Resurrection is my 33. And there were 4 movies that I was bouncing around here that I could have put in my last spot, but I was like, for the things that you were talking about, the things that aggravated you about this movie, same things for me for Resurrection. There's a lot of things in there, and I won't go into too much detail because we did on our Halloween rankings, but it's all the same reasons. It was my last for the Halloween rankings, and yeah, it's just I can't get past Halloween Resurrection. I mean, I own it, but it just kind of takes up space on the shelf for me.
I
but
get
that's really all I have to say for Resurrection, because
100%.
I
I get
think
it.
when we get down to maybe top 5 or top 10, I'll get a little more detailed on why I put the movies, or if it's a big surprise to anyone.
It's another Halloween you're just watching like, why? Why are they doing this?
I mean, I really can't say anything good about that movie.
No.
Just in my opinion, I have nothing. At
No.
least when we do talk about like Ends and stuff, as much as you hate that, there are some cool kills in Ends where I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't really approve of this being the end of a trilogy, but at the end of the day, that wasn't bad to look at. With
Right.
Resurrection, there's nothing for me. you know, and the one that comes next, there's really nothing, you know, it was basically a flip of a coin for this one, you know. It's
Right.
because
Right.
all three of these these franchises have horrible movies. You know, they have great
Absolutely.
movies, but they have horrible ones too.
Absolutely.
All right, number 32. 32. I'm not going to do that for everyone, I promise. Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
So 32, I'm going with Freddy's Dead. Man,
Whoa. Freddy's
awful
died.
movie.
Yeah.
Awful movie. You know, Freddy was just, I mean, yeah, and like I said, we said all this when we did the Nightmare franchise, but the movie had nothing for me. It was goofy. I felt like bad acting. Plot was garbage. And you're already talking, you know, out of the three, Nightmare is my least favorite franchise. And that by far is the worst Nightmare I've ever seen. So yeah, 32, Freddy's Dead.
Before I get into the chat, I'm just going to go ahead and double up. 32 is Freddy's Dead for me as well. I didn't think that we'd hit one the same so soon. But yeah, for all the reasons you were talking about and all the reasons that I talked about when we did the Nightmare ranking, God, this was terrible. You know, I went through the guy falling down the hill off the rip. You know, you had brought up
yeah.
Freddy on the broom.
Yeah.
You know, him playing the video game.
Yes.
The kid bouncing. I mean, God, guys, this was just terrible. And there's no there's nothing I could say about it. Jeff D'Angelo's in here and he says, "Hey Mike, I've got a pic of the Pinhead bus."
I'm sure people would love to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Allison's in the chat saying hi to everyone.
Hello, Allison. Good to see you. Good to see you back.
James,
I'm sorry, Mike. I believe he was wanting to maybe try to download that picture if you were able to. Did you see what he was saying there?
Yeah, I might be able to get that if he sends it to you in a text, and then you send it to me in a text. Yeah, I can figure it out. I can probably get it up here.
Yeah, these are going to be a tough cookie crack.
Yeah, definitely, James. I agree. I definitely agree. And he's also saying that Halloween Ends is his most hated of all as well.
I knew I loved you, James. That's awesome.
Number 31, sir.
Oh, okay. 31. Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, yeah.
It starts off good. I think most people agree with that. I know you don't prefer his look there, you know, the bulky, the kind of, you know, he looked kind of bloated.
Kind of melon head almost.
I was kind of digging it. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of digging it. And you know, the beginning, they're you know, they're in the woods. There's the cabin. There's a, you know, big old behemoth bruiser Jason. He's, you know, getting hit with all the bullets and everything. And it got me excited. I was kind of like, let's do this, man. Part 9, let's rock and roll. Jason Goes to Hell. And after that first scene, it just dives, like just takes a, you know, head first nose dive, and Jason's pretty much gone. You know, we turn into the franchise is at, how many is it at now, Michael? 13, 12, 13?
Are you talking about
Friday the 13th?
Including Freddy versus Jason, 12.
Yeah, 12. Okay. So, you know, the reason they've got to 12 is people tune in to see Jason. They tune in to see these amazing kills. So to take Jason 90% out of the film, and I've never been really the whole what do you call them, like the
like body transferring almost.
Yeah. What's the name for that? Is it somebody
in the chat will know the proper term for it.
I forget what that is, but I've never been a fan. You know, I just haven't, the leaping from body to body. So just very disappointed in Jason Goes to Hell. So that's going to be number 31 for me.
One thing that you did say, and you know, when I get to Jason Goes to Hell, I won't talk about it too much because we're pretty much covering it here. The beginning of it did have that Friday the 13th atmosphere. You know,
Yeah.
it had that Friday the 13th feeling. You get the car pulling up to the cabin. You're like, I know how this goes. And it's not like, oh, here we go again. It's more of a, yes, we're back, baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
that was part 9. The last we'd see him, you know, he was a boy in the sewer in Manhattan, you know, so yeah, I agree with you. But unfortunately, my number 31 is not Jason Goes to Hell. It is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. That is my number 31. And like I said before, you know, if you know, you didn't see the first 20 minutes of that movie, I was totally digging it. You know, the hospital scene, the chase that was going on in there, Michael's look, Michael's brutality, you know, it felt good. And then, you know, just like your interpretation of Jason Goes to Hell and what you thought, the way that it fell off, that's how this one fell off for me. Like, I just didn't care. You know, I didn't feel like the Jesus, the characters had anything to do with it. Just didn't have that Halloween feeling to me. You know, it was more of a, even as a slasher, it wasn't that great. You know, I just didn't have any love for Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and it just fell off for me. To start off a movie so good, to just drop off like that, it's like, well, you know, we blew our wad early. That was everything we had. Let's just go ahead and, you know, throw the rest of this together. And that's definitely,
that is a great opening sequence. That
Yeah.
dream sequence is phenomenal.
definitely.
So I can see where you're going with it. With that, yeah.
Man, definitely.
Do I agree? No.
Teresa
But-
says, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. I didn't think you guys would ever agree on one. And we did for Freddy's Dead. A movie was that bad that we both thought equally that this movie sucks in the same degree as everything else. So, yes.
She
James
eats
says-
it up how we disagree. She loves it.
Hey, it wouldn't even be an interesting show if we didn't, right?
No, it wouldn't.
Nobody wants to be like, yeah, I agree with everything. You said." Yeah, that's I have no, I don't think that would be any good. But James says, I hate Jason Goes to Hell. Plain old stupid made movie truly sucks. Ah, well,
Don't hold back, James.
I know. He just let us know. James also says, Mike, I truly fell in love with Jason X. It makes me laugh my lungs out. Jason X. You will see how I feel about Jason X coming up.
James was up in the booth Saturday, and he was actually saying the same thing, that Jason X is starting to really grow on him as well. So, yeah, I think you're getting some people to jump on that train, my friend.
There's so much room on that train for people to jump on, Matt.
You welcome them, don't you?
I welcome every one of them, and the tickets are free, ladies and gentlemen. Hop on. Jason
Nice.
X is definitely. Oh, Justin said that their feelings are hurt. I'm wondering which one of my statements hurt their feelings. Well, hopefully it
Oh.
wasn't. You know, maybe
I'm
they're
going to
Freddy's
probably
Dead
go with
fans.
H2.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Well,
going to go with H2.
unfortunately,
Are we on
guys,
me now?
We are, and we are on number 30.
Okay. Are you ready, Michael?
I'm totally ready. What you got? Number 30.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 2.
Two. When the way you were saying it, like Nightmare on Elm Street, I thought it was gonna stop there, and you were talking about the original, and I was just gonna be like, oh, like I promised on our show there would be no judgment, but there was about to be some judgment. I would have probably been like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
I'm okay
just
with a
let
little
you have it.
judgment, man. I'm okay. No, I love Nightmare 1. Nightmare 2, however. And I don't know if you guys out there have seen the recent documentary, My Nightmare on Elm Street. Have you if you guys haven't got around to watching that, that's actually pretty interesting.
Okay,
Have you seen that, Michael?
I have not.
So it tells the lead, I think it's Mark Patton is his name, the lead character in part 2, but I won't go into that. But it's a pretty interesting watch, and it goes on, kind of tells his story, and how that movie ruined his career, and it's very interesting. But the movie itself, you know, just offered nothing for me, you know. And I know how, you know, it's said that it's like, you know, people call it the gayest horror movie. And I see where they have that in there. That stuff by no means bothers me one bit. It's just not even that. There's very little Freddy in there. I thought it was when they were coming off of such a great the first film, I thought they just tried to do something too different too soon. I was still ready for give me a little bit more of the what we got going on right here. This man, Fred Krueger, the child murderer, kills you in your dreams. Everybody was on board, man. So I think what they did with part 2 is something I think you usually don't see a change like that happen until 5, 6, or 7. But they just really threw a big loop in there and made it a kind of a possession, a possession film. And I just think it was very just poorly done and not enough Freddy for me whatsoever. So it offered me nothing. So I'll stop there, but yeah.
Katie bringing up, we got 8 likes and 10 people in the chat. Please hit that thumbs up for us. It helps out the channel. I appreciate it. And thank you, Katie, for reminding everyone.
It does, guys. Helps a ton.
Jason X, another guilty pleasure. Yes, Jason X. Oh, love it. Love it. I love it. James says Rob Zombie H2 was horrible except for the dream sequence part. I happen to agree with
James.
And Jeff was saying shapeshifter. I think that's
shapeshifter. Okay. Yep. Shapeshifter.
Yeah, he definitely was hopping around.
Better than what we were saying. What body transfer?
Yeah, whatever. I think it was like he was puking into the other person's mouth.
Yeah.
And you know what? Speaking number 30 for me is Jason Goes to Hell. So I feel like we can talk. What was the point in that movie of him tying that guy down naked and shaving his mustache off? Do you remember that?
On Jason Goes to Hell?
Yeah. So
I do not.
Yeah. So I think it's a cop, if I'm not mistaken. I just watched it like a month ago. He pulls him into the Voorhees house, ties him up naked, shaves his mustache off, and then like pukes in his mouth. Like I guess
he did. Well, okay. So I guess if he's saying I'm going to go into this guy's body, I'm not going to be sporting a stash, man.
And these clothes have got to go.
And these clothes, that's all I can think of, man.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Jason was like, you know what? I'm not dealing.
Well, what does stash look like, Michael? Was it like a nice, like,
I don't know, man.
Magnum PI stash, or
just a stash? Like it was a heavy guy with a. I'm not a stash aficionado. I don't know much about the stash, but it looked like a mustache to me.
Yeah, I'm guessing he didn't want a mustache.
But that's one of the things too that I don't think I brought up last time. It's just like, well, what are we doing here? Like just another thing looking at the movie, like, well, what are we doing here? So that also made me think too, when we were talking about Jason doesn't take hostages, he kind of did, and Jason Goes to Hell if you count that. But anyway, number 29. Go ahead, Matt. Where you at?
Nightmare 5. I think that's Dream. I think that's Dream Child.
It is Dream Child.
If I'm not mistaken. I did some pretty heavy research before we did the Nightmare on Elm Street, because I wasn't that fresh with them, and I had higher hopes for 5. I actually remember when I watched it, 4 was the one that surprised me, and I really enjoyed 4. So and I watched them in order. So coming off of 4, I was pretty stoked, because I believe in general, I think a lot of people like 5 actually better than 4, if I'm not mistaken. So I was pretty excited, and oh man, that kid's weird. Creeps me out. I thought Freddy's scenes were pretty lame. And that's got Dan on the motorcycle, right? Dream Child,
so, yes.
Which is a very cool scene. I did like that.
With that motorcycle.
They need to make an action figure of that, like on the bike with the hoses and everything. How cool would that be?
That is cool. Would be cool.
But almost aside from the motorcycle, it just didn't offer me a whole lot. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Nightmare 5.
All right. My number 29. I'm also going with A5, just not Nightmare 5. I'm going with Halloween 5. It's my number 29. And I'm not going to bring up the fact that I hate the mask. I'm not going to bring that up.
You can bring it up.
Here's the thing with this. You know, part 4 was part 4. Part 4 was great. And you had all the same people and you couldn't do anything better with Halloween. You know, they had the little goofy cops that were in there. They had the music playing whenever they were on screen, you know, like you were trying to somewhat, you know, make some comedy in this movie. I just, you know, you had the mansion instead of the Myers house. And, you know, I know all these things are, you know, they're not something that, you know, an average person watching a movie would think unless you're a big Halloween fan. That's like changing Freddy's house to like something else. It's like you'd be like, well, where the hell's that at? You know, that's not the same. That doesn't even, you know, the Myers house is synonymous with Michael Myers. It has a lot to do with him. And you're just going to throw that out there. Danielle Harris didn't speak for the first 30 minutes. You had Tina. It just, I didn't have any connection to any of the characters other than Loomis. You killed Rachel off at the beginning. You know,
You don't want to go camping with Tina?
I could only be so lucky, Matt. I could only be so lucky. But yeah, it just, you know,
The house thing
movie
is very weird too. And I remember that as a kid realizing like, no,
Oh, it was blatantly obvious. I
that's not
remember
the-
as a
that's
kid
not
too.
the-
Like,
that's
where
not
the
the
hell are
Myers
they?
house.
That's
Yeah.
not the same place. That is not the same place. Katie comes through and says, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. And if you do, I promise you, we will be bringing great content moving forward. We're still new at this and we still do make mistakes here and there, but I promise you that we will get better as we go. I guarantee that.
and we'll have fun.
And yeah, we'll definitely have fun.
Mistakes, no mistakes. We will have fun.
James is saying, I'd rather be beaten with a rubber hose than watch Jason Goes to Hell. So James is not holding back tonight. He would rather take one for the team than have to sit through that movie. Number
Okay.
28, sir.
Wait, which movie was he saying? Goes to Hell?
Yes.
Okay. 28. This is not, I don't believe this is going to be a popular opinion. New Nightmare. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is part 7.
Yes.
Man, I feel like it's got like a pretty big cult following nowadays, if I'm not mistaken. And I just don't see it. Very little Freddy in the film. I did like the angle they were going, you know,
Yeah.
that they're bringing him into the whole real life and whatnot, but it was poorly executed. I don't know if I can think of one like kill in that film that I can even say was cool.
I can.
Okay, let me hear it.
Do you remember when Dylan's babysitter was with him watching him in the hospital and she
I
had
do.
to leave
I do.
and she got drug all over the walls and the ceiling and you couldn't see Freddy, but she was getting torn apart all over the freaking ceiling. And then they panned back to her, you know, Freddy being invisible, and then you could see Freddy. I thought that was
their cool kill is a copy from the original kill.
To an extent, but not. It wasn't like you're talking about in the bedroom when she got thrown around like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the fact that it was in the hospital that I thought was so cool, and the nurses opened the door and actually saw it happening, you know, and couldn't explain it like that. I don't know. I really enjoyed that kill about that movie. Not enough to, you know, make it one of my top movies, but that kill just always stuck out to me from that one. With it being
fair enough, man. Fair enough. I actually liked it when someone can talk to me about something they find in a film that I just can't stand. I like that. If you can find something you like, man. But for me, it just missed the mark completely. So it's not going to be coming out of my box very often.
I got you.
It's dusty.
It's that box that covers dusty, isn't it? All right, number 28 for me. This is gonna hurt some feelings, and I apologize to everyone involved. But number 28 for me is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween, the original Rob Zombie's Halloween. That one for me, you know, I've been over and over, especially discussions with you over how I feel about this movie and why I feel the way I do about this movie. I think that it was a good slasher movie. I do, but I don't feel like it had anything to do with Halloween. The first 55 minutes of this movie, we are watching Michael grow up. All the things that I don't want to see in a Halloween movie, all the questions I don't want answered. I'm having to spend the first hour of this movie watching what someone thinks was what Michael did. And I think that the mystery that made Halloween so popular in the beginning was John Carpenter's vision of him being the Shape and not being Michael Myers living in a home of, crazy people. Like, there's no wonder he ended up the way he did with his background and, how he grew up. It just took all the mystery out of why the Shape does what he does. And I think that's why it's so low on my list. And, Halloween, granted, Jason is my guy, but Michael's not far behind him. I mean, if they're standing in line, he's basically standing next to him with his shoulder leaning up against his other one. He's right there. And for all the reasons that I love Michael as much as I do, this movie took away from that. And that's why I put it where I put it. Now, if you're ranking it as just a slasher and it's not Michael Myers, yeah, it's going to go way up that list, because I think they had good kills. I think Michael was brutal. But at the end of the day, it wasn't Michael to me. It was just, some guy that got a Michael mask that had a messed up background and a messed up upbringing and became who he was by every standard of every serial killer book you read. He had all the signs of it, so why people were so surprised that he ended up that way. Well, watch the first hour of that movie again.
And Michael, I'll tell you this, man, because you obviously, we all know that my view is different, but I've just really come to respect your point of view, my friend. I've told you this before, but I do totally get it. It's, just on my end, I didn't mind that as much. I was actually intrigued. But I do, man. I respect where you went on that and how you want the Shape to just be the Shape. Who is this guy? We don't know a thing about him. Where he come from? Why is he here? Nothing. And if that's something that you really became to love about the Shape, about Michael, Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 would have killed that for you. So I just want to say that again, man.
It did, and the thing that Michael, not to just sit here and repeat myself, but it goes hand in hand with the mask that he wears, that blank, emotionless why. That mask is a faceless, other than William Shatner with his face.
Is this guy sad doing this? Is this guy happy? Is he
There
nervous?
is no emotion. Is he mad? Is he angry?
Right.
Or is he in Halloween 5 taking his mask off and crying in front of his niece? Who knows what he's doing under that mask? But whatever it is, I don't want to know.
Right.
Number 27. What do you got, sir?
Halloween 3. It almost feels like it shouldn't even be in this list. It just what am I watching, man? Totally pissed me off as a kid, and I think I speak for most people on that. We all grabbed that VHS like, dude, Halloween 3's out. Let's do it. Let's get our Michael on, right? And you pop that VHS in, and man, I fast forward for a little while. Man, he's got to be coming any minute, and you get through the whole movie. I don't even think back when I was younger and watched it, I don't even think I watched it for what it was. I think I fast forward and trying to look for Michael, got to the end, took it back to the video store. So what gave it a rewatch, I want to say about a year ago. It just didn't so I knew what it was then. So I'm watching it like, okay, what's this about? I know I'm not going to see my boy Michael, but is this a cool film? And no, it's not. Mask on kids and the heads melting and just not my thing, man. So yeah, the rewatch was not just as disappointing, but it was disappointing as well. So even watching it for what it is, it's just not my cup of tea whatsoever. And why they put that as for Halloween 3, why didn't they just call it Season of the Witch or something, and then come back to Halloween when you're ready to bring Michael on screen. I don't know. It's a
got you.
mystery, like why they changed the house. Some things you just don't like why. So Halloween 3.
Yeah, definitely. James is saying I still like The Mask in Halloween 5.
As do I, James. As do I.
You remember we were talking about Pinhead? And James is like, Mike says the nails on Pinhead are from Home Depot. They could be, James. They could be.
They sure could. I'm not sure. They look good. I'll tell you that.
Justin and Kelsey are throwing me out here and saying, ouch. Just ouch, Michael.
Oh, you
For
heard
Rob
him, huh?
Zombie's Halloween.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe they're
And
fans.
Teresa
as
is
well.
going to double up on me as well and say, I
Oh.
get your reasons for Rob Zombie's Halloween, Michael. But number 28, yes, Teresa, number 28. Maybe next time it'll be number 29. Who knows?
Speaking of 5, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this real quick. This is a gift from my wonderful mother, Teresa, and that is a screen accurate to the T. Where am I going here? Halloween 5. Look at that. Just beautiful.
It's
Beautiful.
a nicely made mask.
Isn't that gorgeous?
It is.
Yeah. I don't know
is
how to
very-
turn it to get it on camera. Yeah. Boy, you can tell I'm a newbie. But is that gorgeous?
I like how you did black out the eyes, though. That's very important,
Yeah.
too.
I love it. Thank you, Mom.
All right. You did number 27, right?
Let me take a peek here. Yes, sir. So we are on 26.
I have not done 27 yet. So
That's
I will
correct.
go
Sorry.
through and do 27. And for me, and you spoke on this movie already, so I'm not going to spend too much time with it.
Okay.
But mine is Nightmare 5, The Dream Child. Other
Okay.
than that motorcycle scene, for me, it just, don't get me wrong. I really like Alice as a character.
I do too.
I really like that character. But it wasn't enough. I don't think that the content was there for me to rank it any higher than number 27. The Dream Child for me, it just kind of, I wouldn't be sad if I could never watch it again. You know what I mean? It's not the Dream Child for me. It's just number 27. For number 26, what do you have, sir?
26. I'm going to go with Nightmare 4.
Nightmare 4.
I'm going to go with Nightmare 4. And I know I just previously talked about how it surprised me. And it was a little better than I expected. And it was, but still not great. We all know it's not my favorite franchise. But it definitely edged out Halloween 3 and Nightmare 5. I thought there was a little bit more Freddy, and I enjoyed his kills. I kind of feel like we're starting to get into some movies that I do like a little bit, just not, they're not great.
Right.
But it's an average Nightmare on Elm Street for me. It's just right there in the middle. It's enough Freddy. I don't believe he was too goofy in part 4, because when they take that overboard, I really just lose my, it just loses me. And I've said that before. Freddy was so scary, so gnarly. If I would have had the rights to that franchise, he probably would have never said one goofy one-liner. I mean, I would have had that man just sending chills down your spine, is what I would have done with that beautiful character. He looks fantastic. He's got the best horror weapon, I think, of all time. I mean, that knife is just sick. But yeah, I would have loved to have just kept him just scary, ruthless. And so on that note, I just think they kind of dropped the ball in the entire franchise. But I can get into 4 and I can enjoy myself. So yeah. And that's the introduction of Alice, right? 4?
4 was the introduction of Alice, yes.
Yeah. And
I mean, but she came on, the heels of a great cast for 3. So I can
Patricia
see how
Arquette and
people,
them,
get disappointed, in that. But I really do like Alice, and I'll talk about a little bit about that when I get to Nightmare 4. But my number 26, and this will probably make you happy, is Halloween Ends. So number 26 for me is Halloween Ends.
That does feel pretty good.
David Gordon Green's trilogy, I had such high hopes for. It brought back Michael to the Michael that I like, the Michael that I felt, Michael should be based on the original Halloween. And man, you didn't really hardly get any Michael. Now, there is an argument out there that says Michael was in the movie more in Halloween Ends than he was in the original. And my rebuttal for that is the original Michael wasn't in it as much. You're right. That's 100% fact. But number one's whole atmosphere was about Michael. It was about what Michael was doing. And with Halloween Ends, not only it wasn't an original, obviously, you were ending a trilogy about characters that we were invested in for 2 other movies. And 3, if you count the original with Laurie Strode. I think the Ends really dropped the ball because it took such a right turn and made the movie about somebody else. And the person I feel the worst for is someone in the movie that you guys, most people might not even care about. And that's Hawkins. Hawkins had an arc building, and you just drop that off for him to be talking about cherry blossoms. He wasn't really anything in that movie until, he asked Laurie out on a date at the end or said, "Are we going to hang out?" I can't even really remember what he said. But it's just like, what happened to Hawkins' arc of being, the guy that they should have let kill Michael in the flashback and Halloween Kills, the guy that got ran over by the car and stabbed in the neck.
That's
the
a
guy that
great
was
point,
a
Michael.
major player in this. You've just cast off as a side character that pops up every now and then, like, "Hey, I like your face." You know what I mean? Like there was no.
They
Like,
killed a lot of characters in
Hawkins
that,
got
man.
a shit end of the deal. And then, Michael, for him to be the way that he was, I get it. Time has gone by. Maybe he was hurt from the fight before, but you're going to tell me that he's just going to he's growing into that cave. 2 more years, he's going to be a part of the wall in the cave. And man, just to end a trilogy, I just think that is it. I don't know. There are people that love it. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people that love that movie, and that's great for them. But what Halloween is to me, and what I wanted to see in a conclusion, and believe me, I'm not I'm taking my ball and going home because I don't like it. I'm just saying, like, that's not the way I would have wanted my superhero to go out, and they kind of did him dirty. And I really don't feel like, number 26 for me. I always say I'm not going to talk about Ends, and once I get started, I just go on a rant about it, and it's hard because I've got like probably 10 other things I can list about Ends, but we've still got 25 movies.
I'll listen to you rant about Ends all day long. You actually just gave me more ammunition to talk about why it sucks. And you're right. I didn't think about the whole Hawkins, but what did they do to Hawkins? What did they do to Laurie?
I will tell you one thing about Halloween Ends. If I'm going to say anything good about it, I was totally digging.
I'd just stop where you are.
I was totally digging Corey killing people in that scarecrow mask. He could have been somebody different. Evil doesn't have to wear Michael's mask. Like I'm saying. But, if I could say anything positive, I thought that mask was cool. But other than that, we have hit number 25, Matt, and it is on you, sir.
Resurrection.
Resurrection.
Going with Resurrection. And I'm just going to say Resurrection. And pretty much everything you said about Resurrection.
Yeah.
The whole, I can't stand reality TV anyway. And then for my Halloween movie to be in this like Big Brother house setup, just no. Busta Rhymes, no.
Yeah, that was just a bad deal. That was a bad deal.
Listen to Teresa.
Halloween 3 should be on the shelf right beside the Three Stooges. I take that back. It shouldn't even be on the shelf. Worst movie ever.
I love
Jeff
it.
comes back with, you can look at H3 as being a part of the Halloween franchise. John's original thought for the movie was to be like Trick or Treat, a bunch of different stories. If you look at it as a separate horror movie, then it's decent. And I understand where you're coming from, Jeff. You know, that's I have a lot of friends that love, you know, Halloween 3, and I get it. And that's gonna bring me to my number 25 because I do want to talk about Halloween 3, and that's where it is for me. Halloween 3 is Halloween 3. It's nothing that I hate, but then again, it's nothing special to me either. Yeah, it doesn't have Michael in it. It is going with John Carpenter's original vision of what Halloween was. He wanted it to be a different story every year to come through. I get that. You tried it, it didn't work out so much, but you know, there are a lot of people that love it. It came back as a cult classic. You know, there's more people that like it now than ever liked it when it came out.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's people going back and, you know, and liking things like that. So I do get that. And by that standard, you know, it's not terrible to me. You know, I like it a little more than I did probably about 6 months ago. But still, to me, it's still lower on the list of all the other cool things that, you know, these 3 franchises have done. I definitely can't put it up really any higher than number 25. And that's where I am for my number 25 is Halloween 3. James is loving that Halloween 5 mask that your mom got you. Truly a great gift. Moms are truly great. I miss mine very much. I'm sorry, James.
You're absolutely right, James. Yeah, and I'm sure you do, my friend. And I'm blessed. Yeah.
Polar saying Resurrection would have been better if it wasn't a Halloween movie. Yeah, I mean, I could see that too. You know, kind of like a early 2000s, almost the way that, you know, the I Know What You Did Last Summers and the Urban Legends and stuff like that came out around that time frame. If it had just been some guy in a house, yeah, I get it. Totally. It could have definitely been cool. But I think that the fact that it was Michael is what, you know, makes it so terrible. You know, Michael had a past. You know, Michael was, you know, a beast. And for him to get punked out like he did in that movie and all that stuff, I agree with you, Polar. It would have definitely been better if it wasn't a Halloween movie. Melissa swinging by to say, hey, Melissa, how you doing? Yuck H3. Oh, quite a few people agreeing with that.
I agree, Melissa. I agree.
All right, sir. And number 24 for you.
So 24, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Right.
Now, I thought he did a fantastic job with Halloween, his first Halloween. Halloween 2, not so much. I like it better than you do, Michael, but I 100% agree with what you're saying. You know, after the dream sequence, it definitely takes a strange turn. But there's still more I like in there. The van crash into the cow and him busting out the back door. And I love all of that. I'm a big Scout Compton fan. I thought she did an awesome job. I kind of liked their transition of how, you know, they were these promising girls, you know, in the first one. And you just saw the destruction of what Michael did to their lives. And I kind of was digging that. There's some very cool kills. The stripper in the strip club, the smashing the foot. I don't like that we saw his face a lot. I wasn't real big on the seeing his mother and the white horse and that kind of stuff. So there was some goofy stuff in there for me. I hated where they went with Dr. Loomis. He was a prick. You know, he was really cool. He cared for Michael. He was awesome in the first one. And then he just does a 360 or 380, whatever. And he's just he's an asshole, man. He's all about the money.
They really lost track of what the character of Loomis really was.
They did. They did. He was all about the money, looking out for himself, could care less about anybody. And that's just not Loomis, man. So yeah, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah. And like I said before, when we did our Halloween reviews, I don't blame Scout or Danielle for their performances in both of these movies. I thought they were great, but you can only do what you're directed to do. You know what I mean? I love the fact that Rob Zombie brought Danielle back. Like, you can't forget
I do
he did
too.
that. Like he did that for Halloween fans. I guarantee he did that, and I'll always be thankful for that. But you look at his Halloween 2, and not only was Michael's mom riding a horse. I feel like the only reason she was riding that white horse was Rob Zombie's like, well, I got to get my wife in this movie somehow, and she died in the last one, and I didn't plan on making a 2, so let's just make it that Michael has visions of her. You know what I mean? Like it. I don't know, man. That's a tough
Yeah,
sell.
almost
for
like it
me.
was forced.
Oh,
Yeah.
completely forced.
Yeah.
Completely forced.
Yeah. And I'm all about Sherry Moon too. I mean, I'm a big Sherry Moon fan. But yeah, it did just seem just like what you said. I got to get her on film somehow. But yeah, it just didn't seem like it fit. It was weird.
Melissa's saying yuck 1 Friday the 13th, yuck H3. And Teresa's saying the only good thing about the H3 is the mask. The masks are kind of cool.
The masks
Silver
are very
Shamrock.
cool.
Yeah.
And Jeff actually picked up the all 3 from me the other day, and he's going to have a killer setup. And Jeff, I want to picture that when you get that set up. He's going to have all 3 masks, and then he's got this awesome art print of the 3 kids in their masks, like watching the tube, watching that commercial. He'll have that framed behind him, but I definitely look forward to seeing that. But the masks are very cool. They're retro, they're 80s, they rock.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
only good thing that
definitely.
came out of that film.
and they're also, very popular. You see
They
them
are.
a lot with like Halloween 3 and all that stuff. And that Halloween Ends had an alternate ending where Michael's mask had a silver shamrock in it. And that probably would have just threw you over the edge there at that point. It would have me. Like I can't. Number 24 for me. Number 24. I'm gonna go with A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. You guys know how I really feel about this movie. It definitely had some cool stuff in it. I went back and rewatched it after we did the Nightmare on Elm Street rankings. So I think it was about a week ago. And the thing that was killing me so bad, and it wasn't Jackie Earle Haley. He did good. I totally feel like he was a good replacement for Robert Englund at that time. But I think the CGI was really bad, and some of the acting, I don't know. I know a big thing is people like Freddie's voice and that. It was all right. I mean, it wasn't. It was definitely altered. It wasn't him. It was him, but his voice was altered to be that voice, kind of like Batman, who wears that freaking thing so he could sound like Ben Affleck's Batman.
There was no need for the CGI in that film.
It was so much.
He looked
CGI.
fantastic without it. There
Not
was no
just
need.
him, but like the blood and everything. It was all CGI. Like it was like where there were like no practical effects in that movie, and I don't know. There was a lot of stuff with that movie. I didn't like the fact that he worked at a school and then the parents he comes running out of the thing burning out. Like it was just bad to me. But I know there are a lot of fans of that. I can't say anything too terrible about it because it is number 24 on my list of a bunch of great movies. But for me, I don't see it being any higher than this. And when I look at my list, I kind of had a double take on it. Like, man, I really put it that high. All right. But yeah, so number 23 for you, Matt.
I kind of feel bad saying this.
Yeah.
But it's going to be Friday the 13th, the original.
Oh, I can see that.
And I don't hate the film, guys. And I'm actually going to give it a rewatch here pretty soon. It's on my to-do list. Because I'm going to say this is probably the last Friday the 13th I ever watched. I always knew growing up that Jason wasn't in it, okay? So I had no use for it. I had no interest. I never put it in. I never rented it. It's like, if I know part 3's on the shelf and I love it and it rocks, why am I going to grab the original that does not even have Jason in it? So I avoided it for years, man. I want to say by the time I watched it, I was probably 25, 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you did say that last time when we were ranking.
But it was a good movie. It was. And I take nothing away from Pamela, played by Betsy Palmer. She did a fantastic job. And I believe once I watch it again, I have a feeling that it's going to go up much higher on this list because I did enjoy it and she did a great job. So I'll try to remember to get back with you guys once I watch that again. I want to see where it goes from there. But for right now, I've got all the other Fridays I love that do have those Jason kills I've been, enjoying since I was, 9 years old. So I gotta put that stuff ahead of it for right now. But we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah. 23 for me. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay in the same franchise. And I'm gonna go with Friday the 13th, Part 5. Like I said, when we did our Friday the 13th rankings, there were a lot of good things, and plus we're getting down to number 23 and, a list of 3 movies, number 23, that's really not that bad. But Part 5 for me, it just, it makes me go into the almost not as bad as Halloween Ends, but, they were talking about when this movie came out, it was a new beginning, and, they had, plans of Tommy becoming the next Jason. There were some great characters. Like I said, I like Reggie. I love the final girl in this. You've constantly brought up Reggie's brother, when we talk about this movie. It definitely had some good kills. And it did. But, at the end of the day, it was the ambulance driver that put on a hockey mask. And it really wasn't Jason doing stuff. And I felt like I really don't know. But there were some good kills in it, So if you look at it from a standpoint of a guy running around in a hockey mask, yes, it's not bad. But I put that kind of with Rob Zombie's Halloween for me. If you're just talking about a regular slasher, it would definitely go up my list. But the fact that it is Friday the 13th and a franchise that is dominated by one character, and we're like, for the fans, gotcha. He's not really back. We just wanted to make some more money and put somebody else in a hockey mask. And yeah, so the more I watch it, it's kind of like, yeah, it's like, this isn't bad. But, when I think about the ending and then, you get that ending, that's just like, oh, yeah, it wasn't even him. And I don't know. I just never a fan of it. I like the movie, just not. Yeah. Anyway. Let's go into the chat. Yeah, I'm sure that probably wasn't too popular, but I just, you like what you like, right?
Absolutely, you do.
James is saying, I really like Part 5. Lots of great kills. Hats off to Roy. There were a lot of good kills in that movie, but to me, it kind of falls, like I said, in that, almost Halloween Ends, Rob Zombie Halloween for me. It's not the kills. Like, I love the kills. Kills were good. Polar is saying, I generally skip over 1 and 2 of Friday the 13th. Don't tell anyone. I promise I will not tell anyone, but I do feel like you should give Part 2 another shot. Just because he doesn't have the hockey mask. At Part 2,
it's still awesome. I do like 2 quite a bit. I do. So
the skull and the witch hold a special place for me, which I will explain later. Yeah, Jeff, like I said, those masks in Halloween 3, they are good. I do like those. All right, number 22, Matt.
Now, this film actually dropped off as it got older. It just doesn't hold up as well as some of the others. And I'm going to go with Manhattan. Jason Takes Manhattan, Friday the 13th, Part 8. I really enjoyed it as a kid. I rented the hell out of that movie as a kid. Getting older, you kind of start seeing some of the, you start seeing the flaws, and as far as the whole promoting He Takes Manhattan and 80% of the movie, they're on a boat.
Yeah.
For one is a little strange. It's kind of quirky, if you ask me. The kills, as far as the brutality, are a little bit weak for what we had been seeing previous with 7 and 5 even.
Yeah.
But it's just aged bad for me. Now, granted, like I said, we're on just like you said, we're on 22. Like I enjoy this movie, man. You say, hey, let's grab a pizza and watch Takes Manhattan any given day, I'm down.
Right.
So, it's still my Jason. It's got some good scenes in it, but just for some of the other stuff, it just doesn't hold up. So
Yeah, I'm gonna double up on that. My number 22 is also Jason Takes Manhattan. So, yeah, that's two
how
of them,
about
dude.
that,
That
man?
is two of them.
How about that?
When you started saying this didn't age well, I was like, oh man, we got the same one. I know he's gonna talk about Manhattan
Did you
now.
think of it as soon as I said that?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
because you
okay.
said the same thing when we were doing Friday the 13th ranking. You're like, man, this one didn't age
It
well.
hasn't,
It
has it?
hasn't. No, you're right
Okay.
on with that. One good thing I will say about this, and I'm not going to go on too long because you said most of it. You know my little gripes about it, but the more I see it, the more I see the look of Kane Hodder, I'm starting to like it more. I'm starting to like that look. I'm not saying that it's as good as like 7 or even 6, but I don't know. There's just something
Ugh.
very unique about it to me, and I dig it. And then when I see it, I picture him standing in the middle of Times Square. Like you would have never have thought to see Jason standing in New York City, especially on Times Square, just standing there. Doing the Kane Hodder breathe. You know what I mean? Like that's so cool, man. And when he threw Ken Kurtzinger, who played Jason in Freddy versus Jason, up against that over that counter and into that mirror. I'm like, man, because Ken Kurtzinger was way bigger than Kane Hodder.
Yeah.
And, not knowing who that was, being a kid, seeing him grab him and throw him, you're like, man, this guy's a beast.
Hmm.
But yeah, number 22, I don't hate Jason Takes Manhattan, but it is a little further down on the list for me as well. And yeah, that's where it's going to sit for right now, number 22. So let's see what people are saying here. Justin Kelsey, you're saying that Roy was the real OG. Now, I don't really know about that, guys, but I will entertain it. Teresa's saying this show is so fun. Just love you guys. We love you too. Thank you very much. All right, Matt, you're at 21, sir. What do you have for your number 21? And your big 3 ranking of the day.
So I might have a little blunder here. I might have messed up my list a little bit, but I'll figure this out. No worries.
All right.
So I'm going to have to say Jason X.
Number 21, Jason X.
I'm going to have to go with Jason X.
All right.
And I know that stabs you a bit, my friend.
No.
I do apologize. And I also like the movie as well, Michael. I do. Hell, I just put it above Takes Manhattan. So, yeah, it's a fun watch, man.
Yeah,
it's a fun watch. Does it have tons of campy, goofy? It does, absolutely. But if you just want to have fun and check out Jason killing some people, doing some crazy shit, yeah, you're in for a ride on Jason X, man. And it's a nonstop. Like that's another thing that I don't think's talked about enough. It is full throttle. I feel like Jason X, once it gets going, it just goes. And I can overlook some of the campy stuff, they knew it was in there. It's all on purpose. It's not like they were screwing anything up. They knew what it looked like. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they ran with it and they did it very well. So yeah, it's a fun movie. It's got its flaws. But for just the enjoyment factor, and like you've said before, it's got one of the best, if not the best kills. That frozen head smash is just gnarly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jason X for 21.
Gotcha. My number 21 is something that I just watched within the last month because I got it as a Christmas gift and I got it on 4K. So the original Friday the 13th, I was really happy to watch it in 4K, by the way. And a lot of people say it didn't look as good. I thought it looked great. The original Friday the 13th is number 21 for me. But it is one of those movies that is filled with atmosphere. Like when you talk about Friday the 13th and, those first 4 movies, I always like to say that they're kind of their own part of Friday the 13th. Those first 4, just like Friday the 13th went in a different direction after 4. You had 5, and I believe I said this in the last Friday the 13th stream. You had 5, which was something on its own. And then when you went to 6, he became something different. That's to me, that's when he really died and became, zombie Jason.
Right.
When Tommy rezzed him in part 6. But Friday the 13th, the OG Friday the 13th, to me, that'll always be Camp Crystal Lake to me. The way that it looked, the way that it was laid out, the music, the third person point of view, I absolutely loved it. And when I went back and watched it, it'd been a while since I've seen it, it made me like it again all over again. Granted, what's going to happen at the end, but the build up to it, it's just, I don't know. It holds a special place in my heart. Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise, and the original will always hold, that special place for me. But yeah, man, 21's the best I could do with it for right now. Not to say that that's not going to change, because I'm sure I'm going to check out that 4K version 2 or 3 more times within the next, 6 months or so. And it might move on me, because it definitely moved up a little bit after I watched it again. Just appreciating, a lot of things that were going on with that movie and that atmosphere. There are some bad things in it too, but I'm not going to bash it. But yeah, that's number 21 for me, is the original.
So yeah, Michael, we're going to have to figure this out, because I've got Friday the 13th part 1 on my list twice.
Oh no.
So I am missing a film in here, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to figure it out.
Here's what we'll do. Leave that spot blank, and then we'll figure it out as we go. And then if we have to go back to that one, when I call out a movie you don't have, you can just be like, okay, well, we can go back to number 20, whatever. And that was there.
Okay. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a newbie. It's amateur hour over here, but we'll figure it out.
It's all good, man. So we're on number 20.
So 20, I'm going to go.
Or was
Freddy
your 20 your
Jason.
blank one?
So let's see here. 23 was, I said, Friday the 13th, the original.
Okay.
22 was Manhattan. And then 21, I had Friday the 13th part 1 as well.
Okay.
So I went ahead and said Jason X for that, which I actually had at 20, but I said it for 21.
It wasn't the remake, was it?
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll go back to it. We'll figure it out.
We will. I'll just go jump ahead for right now.
All right.
We'll say Freddy versus Jason.
And that's your number. Which one is that?
We'll go with 20, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Very fun film, but we're starting to get into some good movies now, guys. Let's face it, we're getting into some good movies. We're not here because we don't like these franchises.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I love Freddy vs. Jason. And really, as far as the top big dogs going at it, it's the only movie we have, man.
Yeah.
I talked before, I got so excited when it came out. I thought it was going to make a trend, and it just did not. And that sucks. Hopefully we can revisit some of that, because I'm all about it. If they want to put, now I'm not going to look at it as, they can have Michael fight Leatherface. They can have Pinhead get in there. They can have Chucky, Leprechaun. I'll watch them. I'll watch it any day. So hopefully we can get in some more of that. But we do have the one film, Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah. And
I'll say this right off the rip. The way they put them together and got them together, I thought was brilliant, because I was interested. Like, how are they going to do this? I thought they did a fantastic job with it. Freddy had no power. The kids forgot about him on Elm Street. And without his power, without their fear, he's got nothing. So who's he going to bring to spread fear? Who better than Jason Voorhees? I thought it was great. I thought it was great, man. Now, talking with you, I see exactly where you're coming from on, they kind of dropped the ball on Jason. Right. And it's a fantastic Nightmare on Elm Street film, but not so much Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I totally get that. But aside from that, I think it's got some good scenes. The acting, not so great, but they were put together well. There's some great fight scenes. I like visiting Crystal Lake. I like visiting, the nightmare sequences, and putting it all together to me was awesome. The end scene, Jason, from Freddy popping out as the demon Freddy, and
Oh
you
yeah,
know, Jason walking out holding
yeah.
his head and everything. It's got some cool stuff, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like the film Freddy vs. Jason. But
And you notice I haven't said Freddy versus Jason yet. You know, because it was really
No,
high
you
on my
haven't.
nightmare list.
No, you
It was just
haven't.
really low on my Friday list. But as an overall movie is what I try to do here with it. And yeah, I'll just say this: we still got a little ways to go before I even touch it.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
Yeah, definitely.
This is fun, man.
James is saying, "Come on down to Camp Crystal Lake. It will be your most memorable vacation you'll ever have. It will also be your last." And look, here's the thing, man. This is one thing that I always say. You know, when people are saying, you know, what would scare you the most? You know, like why do you like Friday? You know, what's your deal with Friday over Halloween and this and that? And it's like this is my generic answer for it. I will take my chances in Haddonfield trick-or-treating on Halloween before I ever put one foot into Camp Crystal Lake. Guaranteed. I'll take my chances in Haddonfield before I even think about, you know, trying to walk around Camp Crystal Lake. That's just not happening. Polar says, I hear a lot of Jason fans complain about Freddy versus Jason. You think that they did Jason dirty. To an extent, I do think that they did. And I will touch a little bit more on that when I get to it. But, you know, man, he is just, can you imagine if you think about this? Do you remember when Freddy was dressed as his mom, or, you know, shape-shifted into his mom and was like, go to Elm Street. The children have been very, you know, bad there. Make them remember, you know, and then he walks off at like the speed of smell. Like he's literally like 1 step, 2 step, 1 step, you know, Jason walking, you know, after you're looking at part 6 where he's just beelining it to the boat. Do you know how long it's going to take Jason to walk like that from New Jersey to Ohio? Bro, they should have been like, when Jason walked off, the screen should have went black and you should have heard that voice go, and 6 months later, you know what I mean? And then it shows him on Elm Street. But no, it just like pans and he's walking down Elm Street like it's right down the street. It only took him a half an hour to get there. Man, that would have took like 6 months, and his zombie ass is not trudging through down the highway to get there, man. Like that. Like it's just so many things.
I like you used that she shape shifted. I thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, he gave us some material there.
She shape shifted.
All right, so number 20 for me, I'm gonna go with Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This is one of those movies I'm starting to like a little more each time I watch it. God, forgive me for forgetting that child actor's name that plays Dylan. I really do like him. Like I said, I really like that kill that was in the hospital, and it just, I don't know, man. I don't get bored with it. Like I'm constantly wanting to see more of it when I watch it, and not enough for it to be any higher than number 20, but I don't hate it like I did when it first came out. And maybe I'm coming around with it. Maybe it has to do with the fan film coming out this year. I don't really know, but it's one of those movies when it first came out, I watched it once and was like, I didn't like it, and didn't watch it again. And then as I got older, I watched it again. And I think I probably watched it 2 or 3 times within the last year. And I don't hate it. You know, I'm actually kind of, you know, liking it. Now, there are some things that I didn't agree with, you know, in that movie or like very much. But I think that the things that I did like, you know, I think I liked more things than I didn't like in that movie. And, you know, I always like having Nancy back, too. So it was definitely good from that standpoint. And I enjoyed it. Polar saying, I love Jason, but there's something about Michael that scares me more. I think it's a score, immediate anxiety. Now, Halloween definitely is number 1 on this list with score. Halloween has the best soundtracks, you know, out of all of these movies. I guarantee it. And I'll debate that with anyone. Yeah, the Halloween soundtrack it's fantastic.
I'm surprised you said that because you love that Friday the 13th soundtrack, man.
Yeah, but not like, I mean, Halloween's in a class of its own when it comes to the music. John Carpenter, man, that's you could play a Jason song right now, and more people are going to know what the Halloween music is over that, because it's better and it's been exposed more. Just my opinion, but yeah, I definitely love, the Halloween soundtracks more than I do Friday or Nightmare. Although Nightmares isn't bad either, but it's nowhere near Halloween's. Number 19, sir.
19. I'm going to have to go with Friday the 13th, Part 5.
All right.
Now, I definitely like 5 better than you do, my friend. And I know you hate that it's not Jason. I do too. But Roy gave it a hell of a run. So I like the whole, was it James that said, or somebody said, hats off to Roy? And yeah, hats off to Roy.
I believe the phrase was Roy was the OG. Roy was the real OG. That was the
okay, there we go. Justin and
was thrown
Kelsey.
out there.
Okay. I love it, man. He Roy was pretty badass, man. He'll never be Jason. No, nobody will be. But if you're gonna have somebody else step in there and do some brutal killing, I mean, he gave it a hell of a run. I think the characters are extremely memorable, extremely. And I think the kills are fantastic. And you do get a man in a hockey mask, man. So it's grown on me, Part 5. It sure has. Matter of fact, it might have, for me, the most memorable cast. I mean, there's some really good characters in there. And just like I would mention, Reggie's brother, he's extremely impressive for how short of a period of time he was on screen.
Yeah.
But man, he made an impact with his little bit of time, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Love that dude. And if you see him at any conventions, he is just fantastic. And I'd highly recommend anybody to go meet him. I think his name is Miguel. I know Justin Kelsey will know, so it might pop up here soon. But yeah, great guy. Cool as hell. Energetic, loves his fans. But fun movie for me, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
Was that 19 we were on for that?
Yes, that was 19.
Yeah, 19. Go with, yeah.
We are
5.
making some headway through here.
Yeah.
My 19, we talked a little bit before about atmosphere, and I think that this movie has a ton of atmosphere. I'm going with Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, otherwise known as Halloween 6. I think that this movie had great atmosphere as for Halloween. Now, granted, I'm not a fan of the Cult of Thorns. They say that 4, 5, and 6 is the Cult of Thorns trilogy, but I really didn't get too much of it in Halloween 4. It didn't really bother me that much. With Halloween 6, on the other hand, there are just more things that I don't like about this movie that I do. It has Loomis in it, as Donald Pleasance. Granted, so did Halloween 5, but he's good in it. Michael's brutal in this one. But the things that came with it, one, no Danielle Harris coming back, and they have a fill-in that they kill right at the beginning, like they did Rachel in Part 5. A lot of it was centered around, being cult type thing, and I just don't feel like Michael belongs in that realm. So that's the only thing that pulls this movie down so much for me, is that. Whereas like I said, a big part of Halloween is atmosphere, and it had atmosphere in spades. It just didn't know what to do with it. That's how I feel about The Curse of Michael Myers. And Justin and Kelsey did come through and said Miguel Nunez. So yes.
Miguel A. Nunez Jr. Okay.
And Jeff came through for me for Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It is Miko Hughes, and thank you for coming through.
Now, who's Miko now?
He was Dylan in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and Jeff did comment too. He was also Gage from Pet Sematary, which is true. And he was
really
yes, and he was also, you guys don't know, he was a boy in Kindergarten Cop with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Really?
Yes, he was the boys have a penis and the girls have a vagina kid in Kindergarten Cop.
Okay.
So yeah, Miko Hughes, and like I said, he's coming back for that fan film that they're doing, Womp Stomp Films, and Dave McRae's playing Freddy.
What was
that
his
I'm
role
looking
in New
forward to.
Nightmare now?
He was Dylan. He was the kid in New Nightmare. He was Nancy's child.
Hmm,
The whole center of the whole movie. He was the main kid.
gotcha.
James is saying, I would love to go to Haddonfield. I think me and Michael would be best bros. We both love big knives. White painted Captain Kirk mask truly be a great time. You know, James? Yeah, okay. He I hope so, buddy. I hope that he does.
James, you're a riot.
I love James. He's
I do
awesome.
too, buddy.
All right, so you are down to number 18. Or yeah, you are
Yeah.
number 18.
So it's going to be interesting when I don't have a number one.
Well, you know what you could do? Why don't I go with my number 18 right now? And then we can start with you on 17. That way you have that gap and you will get down to number one.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
you're leaving that gap there. And I don't really have a lot to say about my number 18 because you touched every point of this
Okay.
movie. It's Nightmare 4 for me, Dream Master.
Okay.
And the reason it's so high for me in this was I really I like the characters in it. You know, now I don't think they're as good as the characters that were in 3. But I don't know. The character of Alice has a soft spot with me. You know, this was her introduction. You got to watch her grow in this movie. She had a lot of character development. Now, granted, it was due to the fact that her friends were dying off and she was kind of gaining their strengths. No matter how it happens. And I also thought that her brother was hilarious with his karate in that. So that kind of made me laugh. You know, it was kind of over the top when he fought the invisible Freddy, and his karate helped him out before he got killed. But yeah, it's Nightmare 4 for me. It's number 18, and this is crazy because this movie is sliding down the list a lot for me, and I don't know why. Maybe I'll watch it again here soon. Can move it back down, or maybe it'll move up even more. I don't know. But yeah, Nightmare 4. So number 17 for you, Matt. Where are you at, sir?
I'm going to go with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, my list could change tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
And mine too. Trust me.
It seriously could. Some of these I'm just not 100% sure if that's where they are. But I'm going to go with that tonight, and I stand by this film. I do. I enjoy it. I don't understand all the hate. I think people just could not deal with the fact it wasn't Robert. Because James Haley did a fantastic job, in my opinion. He sounded great. Now, if they would have taken away the CGI, the makeup they had on him and everything, he looked fantastic. There was no need for CGI. So I really don't know why they went that route. I guess everything was CGI at the time, so they figured why not. But I like the actors. I thought it was cool him actually in the school and with the kids, and the scene I actually liked the scene with the parents tracking him down and burning him and everything. I liked getting a visual of that. You know, it's almost like almost like a small flashback scene like Halloween did in a sense. But I liked it, and he was brutal. He wasn't goofy. He was a little more of the Freddy I actually like. So it wasn't perfect. It wasn't, polished or, but solid film, man. And my hat goes off to James. It's James Earl Haley, correct?
Yeah.
My hat goes off to him, man. I thought he did a fantastic job. I'd even go as far as I'd like to see him put the glove on again, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, he wasn't bad. I had nothing against him with that. Definitely. Let's see where we're at here. Polar says, haha, the karate works in Freddy, but not in Resurrection. Now, I think it had to do with the fact that he was in a dream. So, even if you look at part 3, where he was the wizard, and stuff like that. If that was in real life, I'd be like, why? But the fact that it was a dream sequence and everything was enhanced, yes, it still made me laugh because of his mannerisms and things like that. But it didn't bug me as much as Resurrection. Plus, I don't
That
really
that
see.
kid was a quirky dude.
Yeah,
He
Yeah.
was a quirky dude. I kind of liked him though. He was
yeah.
80s all day, but yeah, he was a quirky guy.
Yeah, definitely. He had
But
like on the
very
headband
memorable.
and stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
My number 17. I'm gonna go with Halloween H2O. Like I said, we're starting to get into these movies where I'm really starting to like these movies. It is, deeper in the list, and we're usually starting to like things because it is 3 franchises. Halloween H2O had a lot of cool things in it. And if I'm gonna knock the things that keep it this far down on the list, one of the things I feel like it was lacking was that Halloween atmosphere. I don't really feel like it didn't feel very, very much like Halloween, and that's probably because it's a place. I think it was California that movie was taking place in. It wasn't really Haddonfield, and I get it. People go places. Jason went to Manhattan. People travel. But I think that it was just lacking atmosphere. I wasn't a huge fan of the mask, but what I did like about this movie is Michael and Laurie's showdown at the end. I thought it was great. I mean, it was just freaking fantastic. And I talked a lot about this on our last Halloween stream. When she breaks that box and locks him in there with that axe
Yeah.
and starts screaming his name, man,
Yeah.
that's showdown
The
time.
music hits.
Yeah, that's showdown time. That's a Laurie Strode that's had enough, and she's freaking ready to go.
Watch
So,
that showdown and then watch the end showdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do like H2O, but it is number 17 on my list. All right. Number 16, sir.
So I'm going to go with Friday the 13th, part 6. Now 6, we've got Tom Matthews.
Yeah.
We've got CJ Graham, who was a hell of a Jason. I did not like his look in part 6. The whole utility belt
That was
with
kind of
with
yeah.
the little fishing feather things that flies on it, and
Yeah.
I just thought that was a little goofy. The mask was nothing spectacular. So it wasn't terrible, but they by no means are you like, wow, they knocked that out of the park. Look at that dude.
Right.
And I didn't care for the quirkiness in 6.
Mhm.
The guys out there shooting paintballs and the arm coming off and the smiley face in the tree and all that was just it's just not my thing when it comes to Friday the 13th.
They knew what they were doing with that too.
They absolutely did. They absolutely did. So, but aside from that, man, I'd almost say just like you were saying, the good outweighs the bad in this film. CJ was really kick-ass, man, and he did some, very different movements than some of the other Jasons. So you kind of weren't expecting it. Like he'd fall down and like spring back up,
Even his turns were like intense.
they
like
were.
he had those real quick
They
like
were. And I was digging it, man. I was digging it because it was almost like you weren't expecting the movements he was bringing you. The kids in the cabin were great. The final girl I thought was fantastic. The end scene I absolutely love. It's one of my favorites. The boat, the fire, the come on in here, maggot head, and Jason just walks in there like a beast, man.
Right.
Not giving a shit about going all the way under and disappearing. He's like, I'm coming to get you, buddy. Just fantastic ending, man. So I enjoy 6 quite a bit. You take out the quirkiness, you give him a part 7 look, and whew, you've got a contender, brother.
I hear you.
You've got a contender.
I hear you. Excuse me. Starting to lose my voice again. Number 16 for me is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's not, the greatest, but I did really like Freddy in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. He still had that's I want to say the word scariness, but I don't even know if that's the right word for it. But he was kind of intense, he was still
Dark.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I guess that would be better. He was definitely the darker Freddy. The character Jesse, Yeah, I mean, not the best final person, but at the same time, the actors go by the script, that they have. There are some slow points in this movie, but there are also some really high points. That was the you've got the body, I've got the brain. I really love that when he sheds Jesse like a shell, and comes walking out. He's at that that pool scene. I think that was great. I like I said before, I love the image of him jumping through the window and he disappears after the window breaks. Stuff like that, man. I mean, when he got to that pool party and just started, gutting people, it was just like you don't really see Freddy in that light. It's usually more of a one-on-one or a one-on-two, or even in Dream Warrior's case, one on a few. But this dude was just basically he just stood in the middle, like you're all my children now. And, he's killing people. And I just thought that, that was unique. Granted, I believe that you said that, it was a little early to be doing stuff in that franchise, which I can agree with on that one. But Nightmare 2 is number 16 on my list.
Okay.
All right. Let me see if I can go through some of these comments. I'm getting behind.
Yeah, let's do it.
James says, don't get me wrong, Mike. I also love the hockey mask and machetes too. I do too, brother. Polar is saying Jumanji Kid didn't work for me.
Jumanji Kid. What's that mean?
We'll have to get some clarification on that one. Don't get me wrong, Mike. I also we're bouncing around here. We already did that one. I refuse to watch the Nightmare remake. You can't have Elm Street without Robert Englund.
Sure, you
No.
can, Jeff.
Here's the thing with that. We won't have Robert much longer. We all get old. And we're going to have somebody else because I do not want the Nightmare series to die when Robert can't do it anymore. And it's too good. It's definitely too good for me.
Amen.
James is also saying part 7 Jason is still the best looking with his bones showing through his rotting. Yes. I love the part 7 look. Definitely. 15 Friday. Let's see. Nope. Hold on, I lost my place. Okay, number 15 on you.
Gotcha. 15 for me. I'm going to go with the Friday the 13th remake.
All right.
Man, we're getting into movies I love, man. I really enjoyed the remake. I think everybody knows the one thing that did piss me off about the remake was Jason with his hostage and his damn bells. The whole security system where, anybody comes in Crystal Lake and he's got bells ringing all over the underground and all that just did not at all feel like Jason to me. Right. But I got over it. Guys. And he looks fantastic. It's got some really cool characters. It's got the number one dickhead of all time.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. What was his name in that?
Trent.
Yes. Trent's great, man. Trent's freaking great. Like I've never loved a dickhead more in my entire life. Like he's freaking great. You got Jared Padalecki. You've got his arrow shot, which is just gorgeous. He's menacing. It might be my look right after 7. It might be one of my favorites right after 7. He absolutely looked like a beast. But some good kills, man. I like the story, him going out to find his sister and stuff, even though she is a hostage, but yeah, man, I was a big fan of the remake. I thought one thing that keeps it from going higher, I thought the end was a little plain Jane. Mm-hmm. Being choked in the knife. And I thought the ending was a little I wanted more. I wanted a little bit more to the ending. You throw like a part 3 barn scene ending on that film, man. And again, you got a nasty contender there, but I thought they did a very good job with the remake, man. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to piggyback off of you once again. My number 15th is Friday the 13th, 2009, the remake.
Nice.
So, yes.
Look at us.
Look at. I think there's like 3 of them, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's crazy. But so for the remake, for me, you made a lot of good points with that. I do love. The thing that I like so much about the remake is, it's definitely a tale of two movies. It has that soft opening, it's like 20 minutes long. That first group at the camp, I thought
Oh,
that
it's
was
awesome.
brutal. Yeah, I mean, it was brutal, man. It's like when that went through, it's like, wow, dude, he's ready to go. Like Jason is, he had the bag head back then.
Yeah.
It was just intense. Like when they brought him back, man, they brought him back, strong. You brought up the boat scene. Yeah, that was definitely a great scene where you hit that guy in the boat. And then the one thing that always sticks out, and every time I talk about this movie, I'm going to talk about it, so get used to that, is that scene where she's in the water and she looks up in the bushes and he's standing there, man. That's a poster right there. You know what I mean? Like that shot, he's just standing there looking at her. And of course, she goes up under the dock and he stabs her in the head through it. It's a good movie, man. And Trent, yeah, dude, you're just rooting for that guy to die for the first 5 minutes that you meet him. It's like, this guy's got to go. And
The Asian kid's awesome too.
yeah, he was great. It was a good cast too. Like I think they did really good. And I'm not even going to try to say his name. The kid from Supernatural. Well, he was a kid then. Not so much
Jared
now.
Padalecki.
Yeah, thank you. Because I can never pronounce his last name.
I think that's how
I
you
thought
say
he
it.
did a decent job, for being the character that he was. And yeah, man, I definitely dig it. It's one of those movies that I can watch anytime as well. It's like, hey, let's check out the remake. All right, I'm down. I especially the opening. I love how they didn't spend 20 minutes on the Pamela story. It's like, they already know what happened. So we'll just throw a quick
Sure.
little, 2-minute deal with that.
And it's enough where you enjoy it though. Like
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah,
kick ass.
definitely.
But yeah,
And-
there was no need to draw it out. Yeah.
And they also go a route in that people, debate in Friday the 13th. Did Jason drown and die? Or did Jason fall in the water, get out, and then live in the woods? Did Jason die? Because the argument is, on my side, I think he was alive until part 4. And the reason I say that is
I agree.
I don't see an undead person growing. Like I feel like, not that I have any scientific proof or anything like that to say you could or you couldn't, but if you die, let's say you die and you're a zombie, I don't really see you growing up after that. Because Jason was a kid when he drowned, and he came back in part 2. He was a full-grown man.
Well,
know what I
7
mean?
foot tall.
Right. So, but I think that the remake, they played on the fact that he was alive, like he wasn't a zombie, like he could be hurt. You could tell that by the ending on how, he was. It was very, very. What's the word? It just wasn't as It was kind of smaller than you would think it would be. You kind of hoping for a big ending, and it was kind of it was kind of it just wasn't a fantastic way for him to go out and for them to end the movie. But of course, he did jump out of the water at the end. So yeah, the remake's number 15 for me as well. I liked more things about it that I didn't. And yeah, Trent Trent sticks out for me with that movie. Number 14 for you, sir.
Halloween 5.
Halloween 5. Wow, it made it that far. Sorry, it just came out of my mouth.
It did. I don't hate on it as much as most. I don't. I like his mask. I like we got Donald Pleasance. Is Tina the most annoying girl you've ever met in your life? Yes, she is. Does it suck Daniel Harris doesn't talk for the first half of the movie? Yes, it does. But it's still my boy Michael. I love the staircase showdown with Michael and Loomis, man, on the stairs there. And
That was a good scene.
I'm not a huge fan of the ending. I similar to the Friday the 13th remake, it's just a little,
What about Michael crying?
yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. I guess it's just, it comes down to I love my Halloweens, man. I do. But no, Michael, it's not a fantastic Halloween film. Like I said as well, my friend, my list could change in half an hour.
Yeah, definitely. Mine too. Mine
So
too.
but I can watch it any given time. And there's some scenes I enjoy, man. And I do like his look and everything. So I'm gonna stick to my guns and
All right.
Halloween 5.
Excellent. Polar cleared that up for us. H2O had that kid from Jumanji in it. Okay. I see what you were talking about there.
Who did he play in H2O? I wonder, but yeah, okay.
Not sure. Jeff D'Angelo agreed, James, the makeup didn't even remotely look like Freddy. I still love how Jason can use that bow and arrow. He's the best at it. He is the best at it.
He is a beast. But I will
Eric-
say, as far as the burn face, he looked more like a true burn victim, I'll say. So I kind of like how they were going with it.
Yeah, definitely. Eric from the Bearded Entertainment has come by to say, what up, people? What's up, Eric? Thanks for stopping by. And yes, we were talking about the remake. So we were ranking all of these movies, and we both had number 15 as Friday the 13th remake. So we were talking about that one. James says the machete stab through the head under the dock was a great kill too. Loved it. It was a good kill. Eric is saying, I love the remake. Seeing Jason running just terrified me. Man, he was moving out in that one, especially when he had burnt that girl in the sleeping bag and then came running up with that machete. Oh, man. Yeah, definitely.
One of the best intros in a horror film, actually. Like, that thing got you off your seat ready to watch a Friday the 13th, man. After that running scene and the just boom, you're like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That was a great transition scene, too. It was fantastic. James is saying, I like how Loomis beats the crap out of Michael with a 2x4 at the end of Halloween 5. Yes, he does. He does. All right, so your number 14 was Halloween 5.
Correct.
My number 14, I'm going with Freddy versus Jason. And I think that it's so low for me due to the Freddy aspect of it more so than the Jason.
Gotcha.
They're definitely, and we talked a little bit about it before, the way that Jason is in this one. I'm not a huge fan, but at the same time, he does have a lot of cool scenes in this one. Some of the kills. Again, I'll bring up the kill he had at the beginning in the Freddy, Freddy's house, on Elm Street, where he stabs that guy and then folds the bed up backwards. I mean, that's top 5 kills for me for Jason. I have to.
Can I say something real quick on that, Michael?
Yeah.
If you look at that kill, I hate to take away from any, it almost looks like he just breaks his knees and the guy would have actually lived. If you really look at it, like his body's not like in half. It's like he's almost bent at the knee and his back of his leg comes up.
I'll definitely look at it again, but let's not forget about the 30 times that he stabbed him before he did.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, correct. But take a look at that. Let me know what you think.
Will do. But also, I like the kill where he's standing in the cornfield and before he, has the massacre out there where he kills all the kids. And that one kid's telling him like, and you aren't invited. And he just grabs his head and turns it around. Like that. And he just kind of like pushes him out.
And the dude's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. I mean, there were some good things. I think that Freddy kind of stole the show. With it being a New Line movie, you kind of knew that was going to happen. I don't really like the way that they did Jason in that movie, but at the same time, it is a fun watch. You brought up the acting, and that wasn't the best. And granted, it's not. There were a few decent actors in it, but nothing really worth mentioning, from an acting standpoint. But, it kept me interested, and it's one of those movies that I could pop in anytime, not because it's great. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So it's definitely just fun. All right, number 13.
Friday the 13th, part 2.
Right. So number 13 is a Friday the 13th for you.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Look at that. I see what you did there.
Yes. And I'm a big fan of part 2, man. I thought the cast is great. The cast is memorable. I thought Jason was awesome. I didn't even mind his look. I'm cool with the bag head. Don't get me wrong. I love the hockey mask as well. Probably even a little bit better, but I do like a sackhead Jason. And let's not forget it's got the best ass in the Friday the 13th I've ever seen. That's a plus, ladies, and always a plus. But you know, I love that they've got a fantastic ending in part 2 as well. Her putting the sweater on and, you know, playing his mother and everything, getting him down on his knee, and just awesome ending.
Yeah,
just classic. But yeah, whoever said they do skip through 1 and 2, they need to go back and give 2 another view.
yeah, I agree.
And let us know what they think there for sure. But yeah, it's high up there for me, man. And I think it's also one that, like, once it gets going, it just stays steady. You're not bored. You're kind of in for a ride. And it is let's not forget, it's the first time we see Jason as the killer and a full grown man. So that's exciting as hell too. But yeah, love it.
Definitely. Well, I am going to stick with that same thing that you were saying with number 13 being Friday the 13th. Only mine's a different one. And it's Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives. For all the things that you were saying before, yeah, it is a great movie. It had a great ending. There is some of the funny scenes in it that not a huge fan of either. But there were more things in this movie that I liked that I didn't like. Tom Matthews making his Friday the 13th debut as Tommy Jarvis. I think he did a fantastic job in that role. And I also love the kill that we don't really talk about too much, where he kills that cop and he bends him over backwards and breaks his back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a freaking, oh God. And then when he slams that girl's head into the side of the RV, and it kind of does that Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's face through the wall type of thing, knowing that would never happen. But man, do I love that kill. Again, this is Man Behind the Mask from Alice Cooper. There's so many things I like about this movie, and the ending. You hit on all the points about the ending of this. I really did enjoy it. And something that we don't ever talk about either that I really like about this movie too. And it's kind of just look at this. It's part of the, little funniness of this movie was where it zooms into Jason's eye at the beginning, and you get that 007 walk where he comes walking out sideways and he turns around, and instead of pointing his gun, he slashes the screen. I really like that for some reason. I know it's, it is what it is, but I really like that as well.
I get down with that.
This is where you get Jason that's coming out and punching through people. This is where you get Jason that's definitely supernatural.
He was in beast mode for sure.
I mean, that guy that was in the graveyard with Tommy, at the beginning, he just punched him in the chest. Pulled his insides out. Those are the types of things where I was just like, wow, they're not playing around with Jason anymore. He's ready to throw down. So yeah, my number 13 is Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives. All right.
So I'm on 12.
You are on 12, sir.
I'm going to go with Halloween H2O.
All right.
And I can't really say any more than what you've already touched on with that film. I don't mind the mask. I don't love the mask, but I don't mind it. And the battle. And just like, and you nailed it, because if you didn't bring it up, I was going to say it. But when she tells them, take the car and just go, I've got this. It's awesome. Smashes the gate code, and starts screaming for Michael. The music hits at just the right time. And I'm not sure if you even have heard up until then. I don't know if they played the music, so it made it that much better. You might have heard it for a split second, but they didn't play the music a lot. So when they do at that given moment, you just get chills, man. Yeah. And their battle throughout that campus was awesome. The beheading, the car crash. I thought there was memorable characters in that. I
really liked LL Cool J's character in that.
Yeah, so did I. I even liked the beginning where he would that been Marilyn Chambers that he tracked down?
Yeah.
And killed. I thought that was excellent. And then while the cops are in there investigating, he just pulls out like a boss.
Yeah,
all nice and
Michael
slow.
always has a thing in his car when he's driving, nobody can see him. Like, if you
Dude.
remember in the original Halloween, he was just driving right behind Loomis. You could see the mask and everything. He's just driving by. And
Yeah.
Loomis has his back to him.
Yeah.
He definitely
Uh,
can blend in that car.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll watch that. I've watched the shit out of that film, but I do very much enjoy H2O.
Yeah, definitely. James said, if I saw Jason coming after me, I would do my best impression of the Roadrunner. Beep, beep. Jason's response to the Roadrunner. Michael doing that sexy lowering from the ceiling in H2O. That was awesome. When he came
Yeah.
down on one arm like this, like, man, yeah.
That was
good
slick.
call out, Polar, on that one. Yeah, because
That was slick. Like
I
yeah.
really like that one. Every time I see Baghead Jason, I keep thinking one of the other movies where the killer was using a trombone with a knife tied to the side, stabbing that woman.
Town
tied
That
to a
Dreaded
tree.
Sundown.
All right.
The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
All right. So I am on
12.
number 12. And I'm going to go with Halloween 2, 1981, Halloween 2. I really enjoy this movie. It's definitely a good one for me. It's a continuation to the original. The beginning of it feels like the original. I really enjoy this movie. But it's also, like I said before in my Halloween reviews, this is the one where we find out that Michael is Laurie's brother, which not a huge fan of. I mean, it's not a movie ender for me. But Loomis is great in this one. Just like, God, come on, Donald Pleasance, man. I freaking love Donald Pleasance. And it also has the "you don't know what death is" line. He goes running off. I mean, come on, man. I mean, there's so many good things in this movie. It's definitely where it should be at number 12. And getting into number 12, this is like 3 or 4 on a ranking of its own. You know what I mean? This is 3 franchises into one. We're getting into the movies that are really good movies at this point. And I really don't have too much bad to say about Halloween 2. His chase with Laurie through the hospital, it kind of kept you, first time watch, it's kind of keeping you feeling a certain way. You get shot in both the eyes. You get the blood tears mask. You get Loomis blowing him up, and he does the fire walk. Yeah, man. Great movie. Halloween 2, 1981. Number 12 for me.
And I want to touch on something before I get on to 11. And I didn't know what your thought was on that, but I actually hated it that in the 2018 that they erased Michael being her brother. I actually always liked that. Mm-hmm. I did, man. I did. Mm-hmm.
It gives him too much. It makes him too relatable. He goes
from part 2 on. From part 2 on, he was always her brother. And then this late, when we've all got accustomed to that, and that's what we know, they're just going to erase it in 18. I didn't know your thoughts on that, Michael, but with how you like Michael, it totally makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but I did, man. I always liked the whole brother connection, and I was highly disappointed when they just erased that. But anyway,
and I'll touch a little more on that when you get to Halloween 2.
Sure thing. So 11 for me is going to be Friday the 13th, part 4.
All right. Wow.
Part 4 is a very good Friday the 13th. You just said we're getting into movies that we really like, guys. Yeah. And I do. It's just not as high up there for like some of the ones I'll mention shortly. And the reason why I believe some of the characters are just annoying as hell. Teddy's annoying as shit. Teddy drives me up the wall. But now,
you didn't want to give Teddy Bear a kiss?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
Jason was phenomenal. I like the Jarvis family atmosphere. You've touched on that before. I thought that was fantastic. The ending was great. The machete slide. He looked like, even when they took the mask off, he looked just freaking gnarly as hell. So big fan of 4. there's just some, I'll touch on it a little bit later. There's some reasons why some of the other ones beat it out for me. So, but yeah, big fan. And number 11, I'm going to go with part 4. And on that note, I'm going to use a quick little break here, Michael, while you go into your next one. I'll be right back, buddy.
All right. Well, I will read some comments while you're doing that, and I'll try to delay my number 11 because I don't think that you will see this one coming.
Okay,
You'll
okay.
be able to hear about why.
I won't be long, buddy. No
All right.
worries.
Oh, my face just got big on the screen. That's fine. All right. So we will go to James is saying here Halloween 2 was my second favorite one. And I can see that. Halloween 2 did a lot of things that made Halloween 1 so good. It capitalized a lot on that. And like I said, I freaking love Donald Pleasance, man. He's awesome in that. And I don't want to talk too much about the brother sister thing until Matt gets back because he's wanting to know, why I think what I think with that. But that's my favorite Friday the 13th, part 4. If that's because we were just talking about part 4. So yeah, man, Friday the 13th, part 4 is freaking awesome. James is saying, I don't think Jason would have better luck with dynamite than the Coyote did. Oh, we're still on the Roadrunner stuff. Yeah, I don't think so either. Although you really want to get into that, and I don't know how much of this I want to open up, but Michael did have dynamite thrown on him in part 4. Well, the end of part 4, beginning of part 5, and he actually got away from it. So that's debatable, James. That is debatable with that, but I don't know. It's part 2. It did. Oh God, it did so many things that I loved, and then there's just those few things that I was just like, I don't know. But I am going to get into my number 11, and I will reiterate, with Matt when he gets back. But my number 11 is Halloween Kills. Now, granted, Halloween Kills is my favorite, one of my favorite Michaels out of all of them. It's definitely my favorite mask out of the whole Halloween, story. It's I love the way the mask looks. It's fantastic, and I think that Michael was the most brutal that he's ever been in any Halloween movie, by far. I mean, he is just a beast. And I want to talk about with Halloween Kills, the flashback scene. Come on, guys, that flashback scene was freaking amazing. I mean, the way it was filmed, the atmosphere. It literally, to me, felt like I was watching a continuation of the original from that. The way the camera was, excuse me, the way the camera was, the atmosphere of the whole area, the way that the area looked, it just looked like it did in the original. Like, I love the flashback scene. I absolutely loved it. And so, Matt, I went over and I did start on my number 11, which was Halloween Kills. And I am talking about that. It's where it's the most brutal Michael that I've ever seen. That walk out of Laurie Strode's burning house is still one of my favorite scenes and the best looking scene that Michael, oh God, I freaking love it, man.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I was talking while you were gone a little bit about the flashback scene too, on how great that was. Now, there are some things in this movie that I didn't really like. I love Anthony Michael Hall. I do. But him is what's his name? Tommy. Just, I don't know. It was just something kind of lacking there, with the story and everything. But then again, I really didn't come there for a, Academy Award winning story. I came to see a boss Michael, and that's definitely what I got. But for right now, Halloween Kills is going to sit there at number 11 for me.
Okay.
So we're down to the top 10.
So I'm on 10?
We are down to the top 10.
Wow.
We have made it.
Well, I'm going to go with Halloween Kills.
Oh, I see what you did there.
For my 10. And you're absolutely right. It's almost a shame there's those few little things that we don't like in Kills.
Yeah.
Because the movie is just almost so close to just nailing it all the way through. But it does not nail it all the way through, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic film. And yeah, I can't say much, man. You hit on what some of the things that make it so great for me as well. The fire scene is just classic Michael Myers. It's and I think I made a scene in the theater when we went to the flashback. Like I just got so excited,
Yeah, man.
you know, seeing that they were going back to 1978 because I want to see as much 1978 footage that night as I possibly can. I don't care if it's just Michael walking down an alley next to a trash can. I want to watch it. Like, I just love that man. He looks so freaking good, and he looks so amazing in 1978. Like,
Yeah.
for how cheap that was, he bought some cheap, you know, Sears coveralls and a, you know, dollar mask from the, you know, local, you know, thrift store or whatever, and just painted it white, man. But gosh, how iconic that became.
Oh, I know.
You know, you look at some of these things, you know, some of the films, even back then, where they put so much money into these costumes. Like, I'd hate to know what it costs to get Pinhead all together and stuff. But yeah, they just threw on some coveralls on a dude and a dollar mask and painted it white. And he's like what you think of when you think of horror villains now.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, going back to 1978, and that was just phenomenal. Michael was brutal. The cast I thought was pretty decent, but Michael did annoy me in that. The whole, you know, I'm going to get you with this little bat and stuff. He was a little over the top with that. It was like, come on, dude. I was actually rooting on him to get killed. Like, I was kind of over the whole Tommy and his.
Don't forget, Matt.
You know, recruiting
Evil
people.
Dies Tonight.
Oh,
Evil
yeah.
Dies Tonight. Yeah, that got very repetitive. Polar brought up something great. Kills would have been a perfect movie if they cut back on the hospital mob. I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do too.
Yeah, that was definitely a low point in the movie for me, to where it's just like, oh God, I'm just.
And it just drug on, man.
Yeah, it really did. And
the guy looked like Danny DeVito on crack, you know, like with long hair. It's like, what? No, that's not the guy that's been freaking brutalizing this, you know. Yeah, definitely. He's 100% right on that. And it could have even been in there, but take half of the time away from it. You know, don't let it go on for, you know, 50 minutes or whatever it seemed like it was. But, you know, it could have even been in there, but it just really drug on. But, you know, again, it's where the good outweighs the bad on kills for me, man. So, yeah.
Definitely. Now, my number 10, it's funny how this worked out. But not my number 10. I'm going with Jason 10, otherwise known as Jason X, coming in at number 10.
Above Halloween Kills. It's
above Halloween Kill for right now. Now, I'm not saying that these two can't, but yeah, like you know what? I love Jason X, and the more I watch it, the more I like it. And it's like, dude, you are looking at a beast, Kane Hodder. And the more that I watch it, the more I love his mask in that movie.
Okay.
That scene, man, at the very beginning where he's chained up and that guy, he's looking over at that guy like, I want to kill you. You know, he's just got that look in his eye. He's kind of got like that side look to where you can kind of see his eyes looking off at the guy that's supposed to be standing there guarding him. And he's just like, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to absolutely destroy you. From that, you know, you're going to space, terrible CGI in that movie. But like I said, like last time we talked about this, I loved every minute of its horribleness. And that's why I put it so high. When I put this movie up there, I'm talking about a ranking of movies that if I'm looking at, this would be the 10th one that I would pick to put in my Blu-ray player at that time to say, I want to watch this. Look, we could talk all day about Uber Jason. We could talk about the terrible android that was doing the flips on the wires. We could talk about all that stuff. Then you brought up earlier the kill with the liquid nitrogen when he froze her face and just busted it. You know, man, I freaking love Jason X. And I don't want to make this a whole stream talking about Jason X because I would love to just sit there and break this movie down piece by piece on why I love it so much. But for right now, yeah, Jason X, Jason 10 is coming in at number 10.
Okay.
First 45 minutes of kills is a chef's kiss. It really is. I mean, it is freaking amazing. Michael was so awesome and standing in front of that burning house, that halogen tool in hand. He did, man. That's an iconic scene of him standing there with that too. I mean, just freaking iconic.
It is, man.
Mulder says I was grinning like crazy when the firefighters were standing there ready to go. Like, well, today we fight more than fires. And you know what? That's exactly what it was. Because if I'm a fireman and I'm standing there with a hose and some guy's coming out like that, I'm out. I'm sorry, guys. You know, you guys want to go ahead with that, but you know, this is Haddonfield. We know what happens in Haddonfield. I am out. I am out.
Yeah, I would peace out too.
Michael was so awesome standing in front of the burning. Oh, we already read that one. Oh, it's on here twice. My bad. All right, number 9.
So I'm gonna go with Friday the 13th, Part 7.
Number 9, Friday 7.
Yes, I'm gonna go with Part 7. I love the film. I love it, man. One of my favorite Friday the 13th films is Part 7. He looks fantastic. There's fantastic kills. I love Lar Park Lincoln. I love how he's got somebody that's ready to try to stand toe to toe with him and go to battle. I was so ready for it. It's like, okay, let's see what you can do. And the battle between them two towards the end did not disappoint, man. Down to, I love the scene where the chandelier comes and busts over his face and he falls through the, just right through the steps. Yeah. Then comes busting out the side. Then they go down to the basement. The mask comes off. He comes on fire. One of the I want to say to this day, it's one of like the longest burn scenes that they've done on screen. But just an awesome burn scene.
I heard that was all in one shot.
It's correct. That is correct, man. So
was that you that told me that? I think that might have been you that told me that.
Yeah, it was. I know it was all in one shot. I can't remember if I told you that, but have you watched the Kane Hodder documentary?
I have. Yes.
Okay. I think it talks about it a little bit more in depth on there. But now I know you mentioned the end. You didn't really care that it was the dad that came and, drug him down and everything, but I didn't mind that really either. Now, does it have is its ending as cool as like a 4 and a 3? To me, no, it's not.
It kind of falls in that remake category for me with the end of that movie. Just kind of underwhelming. But
almost just the very
that was the
end.
Word I was looking for like a half an hour ago. Was the word underwhelming? That's the word
I was too. We both needed that word. Yeah.
As you could tell, we graduated with honors over here.
Yeah, we sure did. Underwhelming. Yeah. But really just that split second. Like it's not like their ending was bad. The ending was phenomenal. Yeah, we're just talking about the last second of who pulls him under the water. Up until then, it was guns blazing, man. It was awesome. Yeah. So yeah, huge Part 7 fan, and it's going to be number 9.
Excellent. Polar is saying, I will gladly listen to you geek out about Jason X for as long as you need to. You know what? I will do a stream on Jason X, Matt. We will have to definitely do that because I can probably go on Jason X for quite a while, but I appreciate that comment. Very much.
I'll give it a rewatch before we do as well.
Maybe we could do a watch party where we just watch it off screen and all hang out and do that.
So is that how it works? You can do it if it's off screen?
Right. As long as, copyright versions, as long as, you're watching it on another device, we can just hit play at the same time. Everybody else in the chat can do it too. And you could just watch it like on your TV or on, separate side of your computer or something.
Okay.
And then, granted, we couldn't have any sound come on here or anything like that. But everybody could watch along. We're just talking about what we're watching. But yeah.
Okay.
James said Michael snuffed out those firemen. Yes, he sure did, man. That was freaking fantastic. Mini Meyer Studios has dropped by to say hello, guys. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
James says, I love how Jason Mask splits apart. That was a really cool scene.
Yes.
It was a cool scene. She's squeezing his head. Like you could see like the ooze coming out of the back of his head. and he
And then when
turns
the mask
around and
comes
he's
off,
got,
he looks just
yeah.
as gnarly as with the mask
yeah.
on. You're just like, yeah, man, yes.
Yeah, totally. I love part 7, man. Part 7 is but we're not to that yet for me. We're on number 9 for me. Number 9 for me is going to be Halloween 4. Halloween 4. I love this movie. It introduces Danielle Harris in this movie. Loomis is classic Loomis. It's just a fantastic entry in the franchise. Not a huge fan of the mask, but there are tons of iconic scenes in this movie
Same.
that I absolutely love. And one thing I don't think we touched on, I watched this not too long ago, was Bucky when he threw him in the electrical setup there. He's like, now don't you go anywhere, and turns his back to Michael Myers, gets thrown in there. That is freaking
Yeah,
fantastic.
Bucky
But
just needed to mind his business, man. Get out of there. Yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah, he did. He was giving him a talking to.
because he just
Um,
had a nice face. He seemed like a pleasant guy. Like I just, just trying to work for a living, do his thing. Yeah.
Nobody's answering at the police station. We need to go down there and check it out. No way, no how. Like,
No.
yeah, man. Hey,
Phone
Just
don't just
freaking-
ring. No way, no how.
no way, no how.
Yeah. Boy, was
and I know
that
you brought
scripted.
up last time we talked about it, the shoulder pads. Yeah, that's kind of a blemish on it for me too.
Yeah.
For Halloween 4. But I'll always talk about this with Halloween 4, man, where he sits up from the side of that bed and that lightning strikes and he looks over, man. That is just a freaking iconic scene. I freaking
And if
oh,
you had a
man.
1978 mask on that, like you said,
Yeah, dude. I mean, it would change the whole, cut out the shoulder pads at the end, put a regular mask on him. It would probably move up a few notches for me.
And let's talk. Why, in general, did they have to bounce around the mask so much, man? Like, I'm kind of glad they did because as a collector, it gives me more masks to buy.
Right.
So that's cool. But what was with that?
I still don't have a solid answer on that. And I think someone told us in the chat last time. And
it was never the same mask, man. And
I freaking totally spaced that one. But we are down to number 8, my friend. We are down to number 8. And I am curious to what your number 8 is.
All right. So my 8, I'm going to go with Friday the 13th, part 3.
Part 3.
Yeah, I love
All right.
it, guys. I freaking love it, man. And I think I touched on it last video that it just recently beat out part 7 for me. I rewatched it just I think last week with my father, or a week or two ago. And man, it's just a ball. It's a blast, man.
Part 3 is great.
I love him getting the mask. I love the kills. I love the characters down to Shelley and all of them. I know a lot of people don't like the whole where she's telling the story about what happened to her. That's not a big deal to me. And they're like, what are they trying to say? He was a rapist and all that. Like, I don't think that. I don't go that in depth with it. Like, he just was trying to kill her and didn't get to her is the way I look at it, So yeah, it doesn't like ruin a movie for me, man. And it's a short little, it's a short little thing. But some people talk about that and like, the movie's just weird. That's like, well, I mean, come on. But and the ending is just, and I love the bikers, man. I recently got to meet a bunch of the cast and they were all fantastic. Down to the stoner, Shelley, the biker with the toothpick and the earring. He was one of my favorite guys that I met at Scarefest. He was really cool. And then the ending for me is what a Friday the 13th ending should be, in the barn when she hangs him, and then she opens that door and he's just right there.
Yeah.
And then pulls himself up, lifts the mask off. You see all the gnarly. I love it, man. It's it's what I picture when I picture Jason.
Definitely. And I'll talk a little more on that when I get to part 3. But my number 8, I'm gonna stick with Friday the 13th. I'm gonna go with part 2. Part 2 for me, I love part 2. we talked a lot about it earlier when you mentioned part two. But one thing we didn't bring up, and we always bring up when we talk about part two, is the wheelchair kill. So I love the freaking wheelchair kill. I mean, that's the thing. The two things that stick out to me in this movie, well, there's three, but I won't mention the other one because you mentioned it already, is the wheelchair kill. And that's when we get the speech that I love so much. Like, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight about Jason. I love that. You know, like this movie has so much Friday the 13th atmosphere. You know, I totally dig this movie. And it has the best final girl to me out of
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't bring that up. Yeah.
Franchise. Amy Steele is Jenny. Come on, guys. Best final girl. Like I said before on my previous streams, she's my number one final girl. She's only tied with one other from another franchise, Miss Ellen Ripley. I'm sorry. Those two are hand in hand for me. I can't decide who I like better. But just fantastic, man. There's so many things about this movie that was so good for its time. And even looking back now, I can sit there and watch it pretty much any time. It just felt Friday the 13th to me. And a lot of these, you know, these first four do. I know that I ranked the original up there, you know, way higher than part two. But man, I absolutely love it. And, you know, not to just repeat, you know, everything else you said, but I just wanted to add those points on why this is so high for me.
All great points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Am I on 6?
Yeah. Let me get through some comments here. Teresa says you're not the only one that loves Danielle Harris, Michael. I do. Harris. I cannot wait to meet Danielle Harris.
Yeah, I think she's talking about me. Yeah, she thinks I got a little crush. Isn't that ridiculous, Michael?
Oh yeah, totally ridiculous. I have no idea why she would think that.
No.
Definitely. James is saying, ladies and gentlemen, well, please give a big applause to Jason and the nanobots.
The nanobots.
I love it. Polar is saying part 3 was the first time the franchise scared me. Jason hanging and blocking the entrance. Nope.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You just didn't expect him to be right there.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Fantastic point. Justin Kelsey, you're saying the biker in part 3, the actor's name was Kevin O'Brien.
Thank you. They are so good with names. Yes.
Yeah. I am not so great with names myself.
I'm not either. And I just met the dude and was talking about how much I loved him. I didn't know his name. I knew he was the biker.
Yeah, he was the biker. You are on number 7, sir.
All right. 7. Nightmare on Elm Street. The original.
Excellent.
I'm going with the original. And like I said, you know, I've said it's not my favorite franchise, but look how high that original just has ranked. It was awesome, man. It was awesome. I just feel they dropped the ball on the franchise. And I hate that. But the original has a special place for me.
Yeah.
I talked before my growing up, I was real close with the neighbors. You know, we were the same age, went to school together and stuff. And they didn't have a whole lot when it came to movies, but well, as far as horror, let's go there. As far as horror, they didn't have a lot, but they had Nightmare on Elm Street. And I spent many nights there, and I want to say every time I went there, or at least every other, I would put in that VHS. And it was so different. It was so different. And it was just almost like ahead of its time in a way, but it was, we had never seen anything like that. So this guy's, you know, getting you in your nightmare and then you're really dead for real. And, you know, and his look is just like, dude, creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Down to the girl in the bag, in the body bag in the hallway and everything. It's actually also one of the few movies that scared me as a kid. I don't get, even as a kid, I didn't scare easily. Mm-hmm. But that was one that did, man. The girl running in the hallway, I thought she was creepy as shit.
Yeah.
The body bag, I thought Freddy was awesome. The characters were memorable. It's the first time we're getting Johnny Depp. He was awesome. Heather Langenkamp was awesome. Huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I can't sit here and say I'm a franchise fan, but I'm a big fan of the original for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, the three. Something about the original, man. Something about it. My number 7 is Friday the 13th, Part 3.
Okay.
You brought up a lot of things about this movie, and not to piggyback off what you said, which I do agree with just about everything that you said in there, but I am going to agree with what Polar said, that Part 3 was the first time that the franchise scared her. That was the first time that the franchise scared me, and it wasn't from
Okay.
the same part. It was from the part where she was in the boat and he appeared in that window, and he was looking out the window trying to get out, and then he comes running down and busts
The
that
end
door
dream
out.
sequence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's running at the water. That scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like, that's the only time I remember being really scared in a Friday the 13th movie.
Even just him in the window, is
Yeah,
creepy.
just
You're just
his
like,
face,
whoa,
man. Like,
yeah.
it was bloody from the look, man. Like, yeah, like that had a lasting impression on me when talking about Friday the 13th and talking about things and that scaring him. But man, that part for me was just, yeah. I mean, I still see it. Not that it scares me now, but that fear from being a kid, like I remember it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
every time I watch Part 3, I'm like, oh, there's that part, and the kid in me is like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
every time, and yeah, I agree 100%. Like, yeah, that was the first one that actually scared me, and it's a great movie overall. Like it was just fantastic. I love Part 3. All right, we're down to Part 6, or yeah, I said Part 6, number 6.
So for 6, I'm gonna go with Halloween 4.
Nice.
So we're getting down, man. And Halloween's my franchise. Halloween 4 for me. Again, I can't touch on much that you haven't already hit, because like you said as well, if some of the shots they have in there, and so much, Michael, just from talking to you, a lot of things I didn't think about that just from us talking, that has recently hit me. Just like you said, like the sitting up from the bed and the lightning hitting. If you put a 78 mask on that, how beautiful would that be?
I mean, even with the rough mask, it's still a beautiful shot.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It is. A bad Michael mask is still a cool mask.
Yeah.
It's just not as cool.
Right.
But cast is awesome. I love the whole her riding down in the truck with Michael on top, ripping the dude's throat out and just throwing, and then she just throws him right out, and running him over. It's awesome. I feel like it's a pretty fast paced one as well. It's it's another one that once it gets going, you're like, okay, we're in for a ride. But big fan of 4, and all the way to the end, and the ending hits pretty good too. I thought them tracking him down and shooting him into that what's he fall through that grave? Almost, does he fall through a grave, or
it looked like it was a hole or something? Yeah, I mean, I think a tombstone went down with him too,
down into that tunnel area and everything.
Yeah,
it was cool. But yeah,
you haven't got a police force.
Big fan of Part 4. Oh, and what he did to that police force, man, was brutal.
Yeah,
I know it was off camera, but still, you were like, okay, this is what Michael's capable of.
Yeah,
brutality.
I love that line from Loomis too. I got to figure out to work that into like a little short somewhere. You haven't got a police force.
Yeah.
And then
he has so many great lines.
Oh yeah. I mean, too. He another thing we didn't mention about Part 4, while we're on the subject, man, was Danielle at the end. And I think that's another thing that they botched about 5. It's like you left there. You know what I mean? And then, I don't really know what they were trying to do to set maybe Danielle up to have, the evil inside of her.
I think it's a case of where they had an idea and then they backed out on it, kind of thing.
More than likely.
Is what I think.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like it's one of those we always got to overlook it. Okay, yeah, I don't know if they were gonna, yeah, because see they end it like they're she's gonna like transition, she's gonna take over or something.
Teresa was saying, so she agrees the franchise could have been so much more. That's when we were talking about. That's when you were talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street.
She's right. It could have. It had a great start. It had all the material you needed, and I'm not saying there's not some good ones in there because I've talked about that. There are.
Yeah.
But when you look at that first one, and if you haven't seen the other ones, you tell somebody, "Hey, there's 7 more of these." They're gonna be excited but disappointed, I think, for the most part. But
I agree.
That's just my opinion. I mean, there's people that absolutely love the franchise, and that's cool. That's cool as well. I just think they missed the boat, and if I picked one reason, it's for taking the scare factor away from Freddy and bringing in all just too much of the goofy one-liners, and then you get to where you're on a broomstick and playing video games, and no.
Yeah, I agree. Seeing Jason look out of the window, that was truly creepy, man.
It was. It was.
That was definitely creepy. Polar is saying killing Rachel in 5. Why? Yeah, I agree. She was so good in 4. I really like the character of Rachel.
I liked Rachel as well.
And 4 did the mob perfectly. Kills should have taken notes. I agree. No way, no how. Number 6 for me. And I love this movie, you guys. This is one of my favorites in the franchise. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. This movie, I love it.
That's what I'm missing on my list.
Oh, see, I told you we get to it.
That's what I'm missing on my list. Oh,
so
my goodness.
What number is this for you?
I would. You're doing
20?
6 right now?
Yeah, it was 20, I think. Was that the gap that you had where you had Friday?
That'd be correct.
All right. So we can both talk a little bit about this movie.
Okay.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. I feel like it had the best cast out of, cast of characters. Not the best cast per se, but the best characters in all together. I love Nancy. Don't get me wrong. She was in it too. You know what I mean? Like, definitely the best cast. Like, I loved how,
that's where she came back. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's when they brought in the Hypnosil. They actually had a chemical weapon against Freddy for the most part, which was later touched on, throughout the other sequels. And then when you got the Freddy versus Jason, they actually brought that in. It had a young Lawrence Fishburne. This movie, you guys, if you don't think that this is a good one, go back and watch it again. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 did so many things right. I just, it's one of my favorites. It's 100%. Like, I love the idea of this movie. They're all locked in together. Then she can bring them into the dreams. They can fight them together. They discover their powers in their dreams. That, like, hey, you're not controlling my dreams. I control my dreams. They brought that whole concept into it. Man, I absolutely love this movie. And it has the Dream Warrior song in it too. Fantastic movie. I had to give it 3 fantastics. You got anything you want to say about Nightmare 3?
No, man. I like it too. I like it too. And no, you said plenty, Michael, and you're right. It is, the plot really is cool.
Yeah.
How they are gonna, it's like they've got a good way, they've got a good plan, and you're like on board. Let's see what they're gonna do in this dream. Let's see what their strengths are gonna be. You had the wizard kid busting that out. The ex-druggy girl, who I kind of felt for in that film. She liked to look at herself as a positive, badass in her dream, and I liked that. It was a really good angle. And then you got Welcome to Primetime, bitch. And, come on.
Yeah.
Just boom, so awesome. But,
and then they had where they went to find Freddy's bones too, because up until that point, you knew that they killed him. And the police, Chief Nancy's dad goes with the doctor, and Freddy's like, hold on, he's in the dream. Like, hold on, I got another problem. And he just disappears and he comes back as his bones to fight. Granted, it looks kind of cheesy now. But back then, the idea that it was freaking awesome, man. I absolutely love part 3.
Yeah.
All right. We are in top 5.
Wow.
top 5
This is fun, guys.
out of 33 freaking movies. We have finally hit top 5.
Is it my go?
It is your go, sir.
Halloween 6.
Halloween 6, Curse of Michael
The
Myers.
Curse of Michael
The
Myers.
producer's cut.
No,
I know,
no,
I'm messing with you.
not the producer's cut, Michael. Now, most people that know me well know I'm a big Part 6 fan, and I am. It's not that I'm a fan of the Cult of Thorn. I'm not. But it's another thing that doesn't bother me as much as it does some people. And the things that you've touched on with 6 are also parts. The atmosphere is absolutely. I wouldn't have changed a thing as far as atmosphere. I wouldn't have changed a thing on Michael's look. If you're going to have him look a little bit different and not go with 78, I mean 6 whoops 4 or 5. All of them. He looks fantastic. And I also
really
thought
tense too, man.
he's
in that one.
intense. I just love like watching him storm through the hospital, and he gets to the double doors and just boom and just ride on through like he's walking with a purpose, to chasing the guy down with the strobe lights going, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Busting the door down with the guy's face, going into the surgical room and just annihilating everyone. Now it is also one where the ending was underwhelming. I will admit that. Just drugging him and kind of beating him with the pipe and stuff was underwhelming. So, but everything else leading up to that, it's Donald Pleasant's last showdown with him. And man, do I miss that man. Rest in peace, Donald Pleasant. You were phenomenal. Miss that man. But yeah, I'm a big Part 6 fan. It's a good watch for me. It's enjoyable. He looks fantastic. I love the kills, the atmosphere. Yeah. It's my
man.
shit.
It was definitely not a bad one. I know that you're a big fan.
One last thing. I also do hate that Danielle couldn't have come back to reprise that role. That was a huge blow for me. Even younger, because in 4 and 5, they build her up pretty well, and she becomes an important character. And then just to not bring her back, that sucked.
And then to just throw her away. I mean, would you even want her back if they were just going to throw her away like that?
That's true too. And then the way they did her at the beginning, So
I mean, like 5, dude, they just threw away Rachel, and then 6, they throw away Daniel. Like these were your 2. These were your Halloween 4. You built these characters up. You could have did so much with that.
They even threw away Friday the 13th. They threw away the final girl in Part 2.
Yeah,
the opening of 2, they kill her right off. Remember that?
Yeah,
it's almost like a trend.
With that, I don't think that it was. But they weren't really with that one with Adrienne King. I don't think that they were trying to build a story around her, though. You know what I mean? Like she survived Pamela, but we had a whole nother killer at this point. We had Jason. Yeah. They did her dirty. I mean, I don't think she knew that she was gonna die, but
did her dirty.
At the same time, it's just like I don't know that throwing away Danielle just bugs me, and throwing away Rachel bugs me too because I really like them in Part 4. I thought they were a good duo for that. But my number 5, we're getting down to Friday the 13th, Part 7. First appearance of Kane Hodder. We already talked about his look. We talked about him fighting with Tina. I mean, there's so much Bad News Cruise. There's so much about this movie that I love, and yes, I did find the ending just a little underwhelming, but for the most part, man, I absolutely love this one. This is one I can put in any time and watch, and I will debate that this is definitely top 2 or 3 Friday the 13th movies, and they're gonna have to do something really special in the future with Friday the 13th to knock this out of the top 2, top 3 for me for sure. Out of those movies. So again, Friday the 13th Part 7, absolutely love this movie. And I mean, you hit on all the major points for it, so I'm not gonna just sit here
film,
and repeat all of it, but yeah, I absolutely love Part 7. All right. Number 4. We're in top 4.
Halloween 2.
Halloween 2.
John Carpenter never wanted to make a Halloween 2.
No.
He did not. And hell, to this day, I kind of think he still stands with that. Of course,
yeah,
maybe now that it's still going and making money, I'm sure he's okay with it.
I've heard that
But-
he hates part 2. I heard
Yeah.
he absolutely
Yeah,
hates it.
he does, and I don't know why. I don't know why. But you got to look at it. People are, just like us, we have different opinions. People have different visions for what they want.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm sure it's something like that. It's just, he wanted to do something else. But either way, John, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you
Dick
did.
Warlock was a good Michael too.
That's even an understatement. I'd say he was
Yeah.
a fantastic Michael. He really was. One of my favorite Michaels is Dick Warlock. His movements, everything. He was phenomenal. And I like the hospital, man. I like it being in the hospital. The kills from her sticking the scalpel and picking her up with one hand, just holding her there. Like, do you know the kind of strength that would take, dude? And
Yeah.
just does it with straight up ease and busting through the glass, coming through the door and, doing his sit up. You don't know what death is, the burn. I think there's a decent hot tub scene in there too. If I'm not mistaken, but
I think you're all right. I think
but-
you're right.
yeah, just awesome film, man. Awesome film, fun ride.
What I was talking about before, and I didn't want to dwell on it too much because I knew that you had to get to Halloween too. The one thing that and this is something that you've openly said. It doesn't bother you, but I didn't like that with this movie. Michael changed. He became the crazy brother. And then in part 4, he was the crazy uncle. In part 5, he was the crazy uncle. And I think that took away from what the Shape was originally supposed to be. He wasn't a mystery anymore. He was family. And believe me, we all have those crazy family members. I mean, everybody does, but that's what.
Let me ask you this though. If he wasn't Laurie's brother, why would he keep specifically coming after her?
Who said that he was coming after her? When?
Well, he's at her house and then he tracks her down to the hospital.
Only tracked her to the hospital because it was his sister.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like if he wasn't her sister, would you still have this Michael and Laurie Strode thing going on where he's tracking her down, trying to fight her?
I mean, from a
Like, what
movie
would the
writing standpoint, you could do it like they did in 18 and they just happen to cross paths. There is the Shape doesn't have any grudges. The Shape doesn't have he doesn't care. But they're giving it meaning at that point. They're taking away from the actual name, the Shape, and then he becomes Michael Myers and then he becomes my crazy brother. I mean, they could have written it in any other way for him to, but I don't think he would have went to the hospital after her. No, I
Okay.
don't. I just, that for me, and this isn't the first time I mentioned it. We've talked about this before, but that's the thing for me. That's where it kind of turns. And I'm not saying I hate it. Look how high I put Halloween 4. You know what I mean? Like I like the movies, but I just think that they got away from what the original intended it to be. And I think that's why, I enjoy the original so much, because it's the mystery that makes it scary. It's the why. It's the, how could someone do this, with what they've been given? Like, it's not, and that's what, Rob Zombie's Halloween takes away as well, to where it's like, oh yeah, I can totally see how that happened. I mean, look at his house life. I mean, look at his stepdad. Look at his sister. Look at his mom. I can totally see. Look, he's freaking killing animals in his bathroom. Like, I get it. I can see it. But the thing that made Halloween so great to me, was the fact that it was a mystery. That's what made it scary. That's what made the original Halloween to me so scary. Is this could happen anywhere, without any reason.
Right.
It's not just we landed in a town with some crazy guy. Yeah, well, why is he crazy? Well, because this happened to him. Like that's the whole part of the blank face for me. That's why I enjoy it so much. That's what makes it stand out for me. But number 4. Did you just do number 4 with part 2?
I'm on 3.
Well, yeah. So you just did number 4 with part 2.
I
So I've
did.
got to do my number 4.
Yep.
Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. Freaking fantastic movie. Absolutely love it.
It is.
It's the movie that brought freaking nightmares, as a kid. There's one thing if you're in Haddonfield on Halloween, yeah, I get it. You're in Camp Crystal Lake, yeah, I get it. Everybody has to go to sleep.
Everybody.
You know what I mean? And as a kid, it's just like, oh my God, I gotta go to sleep. Is this asshole gonna be in here? You know what I mean? Like that's what made it so scary. And like you talked
young
about,
kids you think did not want to go to sleep after seeing that movie, and the
I'm
parents were
probably
pissed.
sure that there was a lot of them. But I don't have too much more to say other than what you said about this movie. But it is definitely, up there. It's one of the best horror movies of all time. I put it up there with a lot of different things, and I absolutely love it. Robert Englund's debut as an iconic character. I mean, just freaking fantastic. I mean, you got to think about it too. Out of the big 3, he's the only one that was consistently Freddy or consistently the killer. What do all of them have in common? Well, they have Robert Englund in common. Now, not including the remake because that was years later. But he wrote it out, man. Like he was that guy. Like Friday the 13th. It had the guy from part 2. I always forget his name. Then it had Richard Brooker. Then it had Ted
And
White.
I'd give it to Robert for that.
C.J. Graham. Then it had Kane Hodder. You know what I mean? Like Friday went through some people.
You got to give it to Robert for that.
Halloween did too. I mean, it's just freaking crazy. He hates part 2 mostly because of the sibling stuff. Oh, that was John Carpenter on part 2. Yeah, me too. I get it.
Really? Huh.
Teresa, Kane Hodder as Jason was the best. He would scare me even off set. Yes, Kane Hodder was freaking amazing. I love Kane Hodder.
I'm glad my mom is seeing, just how awesome Kane Hodder is. That's cool.
I need to bring in that Blood Tears H2 mask in to show you. I got Dick Warlock to sign it. That's awesome.
Oh, nice. Very
that
nice, Jeff.
Freaking awesome. The idea of Freddy is terrifying. No escape. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
It is
It's like,
terrifying.
you don't have to go anywhere. He could just be there. And that's absolutely terrifying. I simply love the Curse operating room massacre Michael with the machete. Now that's cool. Dude, that scene in part 6 when he was in that that operating room and he just went crazy in there.
And they
killing
show just
everybody.
enough of like each kill where
Yeah,
you're like,
man.
oh, what's this guy doing?
Freaking awesome. All right, we are in top 3. This
Wow.
is it.
This is it. All right. I think you're going to be pleased with this one, Michael.
Don't tell me we're about to have the same one again. Go ahead.
Halloween 2018.
My man.
I'm
I'm going to piggyback off that because we're both going to talk about this movie, my number 3.
Okay.
Halloween 2018.
Okay. Yeah. Great film. And, before that came out, we were all dying for some Michael. I know I was. And they just nailed it. It had that, it felt like Halloween. They did it right. From in that opening line. I saw this in the theater by myself and I loved every minute of it. I dropped my daughter off. I was riding home. I was like, man, I think it was, maybe Saturday or something. I'm like, Halloween just came out, man. I'm going to stop by a theater. I'm pulling in here. I'm going to check it out. And I actually came in a little bit late, but I was right at, when I walked in the theater, it was right at that podcaster holding up the mask saying, screaming at him to say something, and that music hit. And just from there on, I was just hooked, and
I felt like it was almost a wrestling. Like I haven't watched wrestling since the 90s, but do you know when that star would come out and that music would pop?
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
When he say something and then it goes into that theme.
Yeah.
And it hit the hardest out of any opening slash, like, dude,
Like
it
when
was
the
just,
glass breaks and Stone
yeah,
Cold
dude,
comes out, and you're like,
that's exactly what it was, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, oh my God, we're back, baby. Because it went into the original credits with the original song, and I've never wanted to hear that so much, man. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, how they gonna do it? How they gonna do it? And then hit, man, and I'm just like, I probably had the biggest smile on my face when that happened. And there were people behind me, they're cheering. I can't help but to clap my hands at that point,
Yeah.
because it's like, look, we're back. And we had been in that theater for 2 minutes, and the person I was with started talking, and I was like, look, no offense, but I gotta go. And I just walked like 4 seats down and sat down. Like, I can't right now. You can't be talking like the whole time. They're in there at the beginning. Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you? No, we're not doing this through the whole thing. No, I'm gonna sit here and watch this.
We're
Like,
not
you're not.
doing
I'm not gonna sit here and listen to all these comments. I am zeroed in. You do not exist to me right now. Like,
Your aunt's not doing well. She's in the
no.
hospital. We'll talk about that shit later. Yeah.
This is why I'm here. I've got like one of those ices that are like this big. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there with it under my arm and the straw in my mouth. Like, I'm gonna look like a little kid sitting there.
And it's let's touch on how how special these horror films are for us fans, man. And we're all in that theater for the same reason, man. We love this dude. We love this franchise, and it's just something so special about the horror community, man. And the more I've been getting involved with it, just the more I'm loving it. And yeah,
Dude, that movie itself, dude, like, could you imagine, even if that was supposed to be a one-off and it would have ended the way Halloween 2018 ended, I could have lived with that, man. Him just standing there burning at the end with no
staring
emotions,
up, yeah.
no nothing, dude. He's just locked in. You know what I mean? Just standing there burning. Like, come on, man. I know that there are people that have problems with this movie, but look, as a sequel to the original, I absolutely love this movie.
I do too. Since we are talking about how much we love it, I'm gonna throw in one thing that did bother me about the film, and I do think I've told this, I've talked to you about this, but I do feel like they took Laurie's like paranoia and her house with all the hit the buttons and then that door closes, and I thought they took her a little kind of corny far with it.
It was just preparation.
It's like, yeah, you had this happen to you when you were a teenager. Come on, let's not be a complete weirdo about it. But I thought it was a little corny. They took it a little far. The sequence of how she's training her daughter how to fight and hit punching bags and everything. But that's it, man. That's it. I thought that was a little just a little over the top.
That was Sarah Connor and John Connor right there, man. They were getting ready for the Terminator to get out, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
squared away.
But
ready to go
to the house. And I love when he actually hears her voice and looks over and looks up.
That was a great shot, man, through the window. And the cool thing about it was Michael didn't give a shit about her, man. He was brought there. He didn't care. Like, he was on his way home, got hit by a car, and they threw him in the back. And what he did to Sartain's head. Now, if I can complain about anything, well, one thing that made me laugh about it was when they picked Allison, Hawkins, and Sartain, grab Allison from the house. It made me laugh because Sartain's like, "Go in your house. I'm a doctor." It's like, dude, I don't give a shit who you are. You ain't telling me to go inside.
And I like you saying that, Michael, because I like when you can talk about one or two things that you don't like, even when you're talking about a movie that you absolutely love.
Oh, definitely.
Because no movie's perfect. No movie's
and like
100%.
When Sartain puts on the mask and drags, he ain't carrying Michael with one arm. That little guy is not dragging James Ducournau into the back of that car. That's not happening, dude. I didn't like that either, but I mean, it got him there. I was okay with that. He stepped on his head for being stupid. You know, I felt like there was some redemption in that. So it was definitely all good.
For being stupid.
Yeah. So, all right, buddy, part 2. or number 2.
Number 2. I'm telling you guys, I've been doing a lot of pondering on these next 2 films. Been doing a lot of pondering, but I'm still gonna stick with what I've got. And for me, number 2 is Halloween 1978. The original Halloween.
It's a good one.
Oh, is it ever? I just love it. And if I really think about it, I typically like a movie with more action than it has. It's not an action-packed horror film. It's not. You
All
know,
about tone and atmosphere.
but the tone and the atmosphere and how they set it up is just executed beautifully. And then when you do get to that climax ending, it does not disappoint. And it's the first time you're seeing this guy that, I mean, I'm surrounded by Michael Mask in my collection, and you'd think I'd get bored of looking at him, but I don't. Like, the guy, Michael is just fantastic to look at. And like I said earlier, for it to be such a cheap way to put a killer together and how badass and iconic it's become is just something special that I don't know if we'll ever see again. But how they set that up and how they build that up, and the fight at the end, and when you first see him do that sit up and the closet scene, my goodness, hitting the light and the light turning on, you see him right there and hearing the breathing, and like you said, like you've touched on, and at that point he is 100% the Shape. Who is this guy? We have no idea. Why is he there? No idea. All great factors, and I love it, and it's a big part of why I do what I do to this day. And he got me into horror. And
You got to think too, there are arguments to be made about the original where he never went after Laurie until Laurie came into the house that he was in. He never went to, like, you got to really think about that movie. What was their name?
so
her
that would
friend.
have been oh shoot, was it Annie's house?
Yeah. Well, Annie was babysitting at that house,
Okay.
and Annie was the one talking shit to him. You got to think, when he was driving by, hey, jerk, speed kills.
Yeah.
Slammed on the brakes. Who did he follow? He followed Annie in her car. Laurie got dropped off across the street. He went right after her. And he was in that house. And then Laurie came over there because nobody answered the phone. Now that I've done tried to kill you, and you done, now I'm coming after you.
And what about the scene, him coming behind her and out of the shadow and the mask?
Oh, that's probably one of the
appearing,
most
like-
iconic scenes.
Like, it's just stupid good. It's
Anywhere.
just stupid good. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's so much about that.
and then doesn't that music hit that like when
Yeah.
it finally, it's just
Yeah, and I mean, even that thing James was talking about
Dun,
this. Yeah,
yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's freaking Jesus.
Yeah, bone chilling, man. It was awesome.
James is saying, say something, Michael. That was a great part of the film. The checkerboard grounds and all those cameras was creepy. Yeah, man. I mean, that atmosphere of 18.
I thought that was cool too. The checkered board ground and everything, like,
Yeah.
and the lines that do not cross and everything. It was very cool.
Can we all agree that Karen's husband was the worst? Yeah, he's got peanut butter on his penis. You know what I mean?
Oh, I kind of liked her husband. I kind of liked
I'm a
him.
black belt. I can take care of her. I know.
Did you like him, Michael?
He is all right. I didn't hate him, but I didn't like him. To me, he was a filler kill. He was Michael fodder.
I actually liked him. He's an American Horror Story, I want to say. Yeah, as a bartender in one of the films, I think Hotel.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
James also said another part was when Michael dropped those teeth in the restroom.
Mhm.
That was gore. Oh yeah, man, that was a hey, you're screwed moment, lady.
Mm-hmm.
Just freaking let her know.
Yeah, don't drop teeth when I'm dropping a deuce, man. I'm just no, thank you. Whoa.
The only thing is it's one thing to look back at movies and say they should have did this, they should have did that, but I mean, it's like, well, if I'm that girl and he's beating the hell out of the guy podcaster, I'm running out the damn door.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, run, lady. You got to freaking run. Which brings me to my next movie, because that ties in, with it. My number 2 is Friday the 13th, Part 4.
Okay.
Friday the 13th, Part 4 is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. And if I do have to complain about anything, it's the fact that Trish went back downstairs after Rob got killed and even told her, like, he's killing me. He's
like
killing
7
me.
times. Yeah.
Why did you go back down there? Why? But I mean, I don't have much to complain about this movie. It is my favorite. I love this movie so much. I could talk for hours about this movie too. Corey Feldman and the Jarvises, I absolutely love it. Trish, great final girl, other than going back in the basement after she should have clearly left. Ted White was an awesome Jason. I loved Crispin Glover and the character Teddy going back and forth with the computer. Teddy was an idiot. You just have to know he's an idiot.
He
You know what I mean? You just got to put him in that category.
He
Like,
thinks
look at
that
this
he thinks that's funny what he's doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I mean, that's the Friday the 13th movie. What's her name? Judy Aronson. Is it Aronson? I hope I'm saying that right. Who gets killed in the raft. I mean, she was in Weird Science. She was in stuff too. I really like that actress. There's just so much to care about outside of what's coming to them. I felt like they kept the movie entertaining throughout. Like, I built an attachment to most of these characters. Like the one girl that ends up getting thrown out the window. For the most part, she's got Final Girl written all over her at the beginning, and she ends up having sex with the dude. And we all know in Friday the 13th, the rule is you do that, you die. That's just what it is.
You can't be final girl material and have sex. You just
I
can't.
can't say enough good things about this movie, and this was tough to put it number 2 and not number 1 for me. But in the grand scheme of things, it is my number 2 on this list. Friday the 13th, Part 4, ladies and gentlemen. It's freaking fantastic. I absolutely love it. Well, this is the moment. Number 1.
So
Matt?
Number 1 for me is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 1.
Oof.
The reason why is the excitement I have for this film is on another level. And the only reason I do believe it beats out the OG is that, like I was saying, I typically like a movie with a little bit more, a little bit more kills, a little bit higher pace. And I've said this before, but when I heard Rob Zombie was remaking my favorite movie of all time, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I was, excited isn't even the word. I was just completely stoked for this film. And I was also a big, before that, I'm a White Zombie fan, Rob Zombie. I'm a big fan of his. And for him to be doing it, I was just really interested to see what he was going to do. I knew it was going to be gory. I knew it was going to be, and for me, Michael, he did not disappoint, man. He did not. I don't mind having Michael's backstory. I actually enjoyed it. And I thought the kid did a fantastic job, almost even underrated, I'll say. I thought Tyler Mane as Michael looked absolutely fantastic. The mask was fantastic. I was getting Danielle Harris back. I was introduced to Scout Compton, and she was just awesome. You've got Chucky. You've got Brad Dwarf in there as the sheriff. And yeah, the kills are brutal. I feel like it's got atmosphere. It's just everything I would have wanted if they're going to remake Halloween, man. It's everything and more. But I do want to say it just barely. And the only reason it really slightly edges out the original is because I probably would want to watch it a little bit more, just because it does offer more as far as scenes and everything. But like, is it a better movie? No. But for those reasons I mentioned, I watch it more often. So it is. It's my and it's not my favorite movie on this list. Michael, ladies and gentlemen, it's my favorite movie of all time. I know that's a huge statement, and I know some people are like, "What?" But it is, and you like what you like. And Rob Zombie's Halloween is my favorite movie of all time. So
I don't even
that's
know
my
if I could
number
answer
one.
that question if somebody.
It's a hard question to
What's
answer,
your
brother.
favorite movie of all time?
It's a hard question
My
to
head
answer.
might explode if somebody asked me that. Like,
There's
I
three
really-
that come to mind for me that could bounce around any given time, and it's Rob Zombie's Halloween, Predator, and Christine. I love those films, man.
Right.
I love them. Just
Maybe one day I'll make you rank those three.
oh
that
god,
would-
man, oh god, that would be so hard, but it'd be awesome.
Whew. Oh God, I don't even know because I love movies of all genres.
I know you do, and I love. I
mean,
think that's awesome.
I just, oh
I'm
God,
a
I can't.
picky son of a bitch.
I can't even think about that. Like that, it makes my brain hurt to even think about it. Like there's so many good movies. Oh my God. Number one for me, and that's the thing, man. You like what you like, and at the end of the day, these are the things that you look at your set, say either, hey, this is what I want to watch first, or no matter how you look at it, your ranking is your ranking. But with me, as much as I am a Friday the 13th guy, Halloween 1, 1978, it tops the list. Like I can't put any
That's so
Friday
cool,
the 13th
Michael.
movie
That's so cool.
above it, even though Friday is my favorite franchise. But if you look at my ranking list, you could see that there were more Fridays on the upside, than there were Halloweens. But I mean, man, Halloween 1978. There's that movie was made 44 years ago, and I know it was 44 years ago because it was made the year I was born. And there's still just 45 at this point. 45? Shit.
Ears just rack up, don't they, Mike?
Yeah, man. But man, it's just I'm still trying to unpack it all. It's not just straightforward. This is what it is, because you can start to look at things from other angles of it. Like I was saying, like, did he ever really go after Lori in the first one? Was that his intent? He watched her, but she dropped some keys in his house. He's probably trying to figure out what that's about. But Annie was the one, talking shit to him. And when he was following them, how do we know he wasn't following Annie? He went to Annie's house first. He went after her. He didn't go to Lori. He was after Lori.
Great.
Don't you think he would have started over there?
All
I mean,
great
there's just
points.
still things, whether they're right or wrong, it's just I'm still trying to unpack that movie 45 years later. That's how I know how good it is. And the soundtracks, man. I mean, to me, 2018 has the best soundtrack of all time, out of the horror 3 that we're ranking right now. Not going to say out of any movie, but I absolutely love it. And most of it's from part 1. This John Carpenter not only knocked the movie out of the park, he knocked the soundtrack out of the park too. It's freaking absolutely amazing. And I mean, the atmosphere is built mostly by his music, which Rob Zombie even took for his movie. That was freaking John Carpenter. He made that was his thing, man. And I mean, it was just freaking absolutely freaking amazing. And I know that we talked a lot.
I love hearing you say that
about it, and yeah, man, it Halloween 1978 is my number 1 out of this list. And Halloween's not my favorite franchise, but man, it is close second. It is right there. It is right on the heels of Jason, but it's just something about Jason to me that the nostalgia and all that stuff that brings it over the top for me. But man, the best movie's Halloween 1978. That's what I'm saying.
right on.
Yeah, definitely. Freaking fantastic. Polar saying, "Get to the chopper.
Yeah,
Get to the chopper."
absolutely.
Polar's top 5: Halloween, the OG, Halloween 4, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Part 4, and 5 is H2O.
Nice, very
Great
nice,
list. Great list.
very nice.
James is saying Michael was a brute in the Rob Zombie versions. I just love the way Michael appears in his mask. It's number 2 after Halloween 1.
Okay.
Only cost $320 to make. What a bargain. Truly a masterpiece of a movie. Man, it's this. I mean, I could sit here. We've been going for over 3 hours at this point, and I feel
Wow.
like there's so much more that could have been said about these movies. But to try to work 33 movies into one live stream was definitely a lot. But
We did it, Michael.
Yeah.
We did it, buddy.
totally did, and we did it with
And
an
you
awesome group
guys'
of people. hanging out with
comments
us.
were great.
Yeah, definitely.
That was fun.
We will be doing something next week. We are not 100% sure what that is yet, but I will talk to Matt, and we'll definitely be back next Sunday. Now, I doubt it will be for 3 hours and 10 minutes, but yeah, man, I'm really glad that we did this. And I mean, looking at my list now, it's like I could probably move this one here. and
Yeah,
move that one there.
absolutely, man.
You
I've
know
been
what I
thinking
mean?
that the
But-
whole time we've been going at it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like this one
Yeah.
might go here, this
Yeah.
one might go there. But I am definitely confident in my number one, and I
And this
actually
was-
surprised myself that 18 Halloween 18 was so high on the list. 3,
it was high for me.
yeah, definitely. But my friend, we have to do this again. I want to dive into the Scream franchise here soon. At some point, I don't know if we're going to do that next week. I don't think I want to do it that soon. But with the new Scream movie coming out, I definitely like to dive into that soon as well. So we'll talk on what we want to do next.
I'm
And I want to
definitely
thank
down.
all of these great people for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't forget, if you're still in the chat, drop us a like, leave a comment after the stream is over. That helps the channel a lot. And thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you guys so much. That was awesome.
All right, take care, everyone. Thank you again.